Well, a warm welcome back. Good morning from Menorca, from the 52 World Championships. It's Super Sunday, it's the final, and what a finale we do have. We had Quantum racing at a black flag in the last race yesterday, copping 13 points. We had Azura getting 2 wins, setting themselves up in a position to just possibly challenge Quantum for the world title. We've had an unsettled morning. There's been rain. The breeze has been swinging around quite a lot. Anyway, a warm welcome to Fergal Finlay, fearless, fragile footer, I think are the words of the day this morning, Fergal. But how do you see today panning out?
I think we've got a really exciting last day of the regatta ahead of us. The unfortunate black flag on Quantum has brought the whole leaderboard together a little bit more and makes for an exciting last day.
Let's have a look at the standings then. We've had 8 races. We're right up to schedule for the championship. Should get 2 final races in today. And Quantum Racing, as I said, leading by 9 points. 13 points from that last race. Azura, 2 wins yesterday, 34. Pravetsa, 37. In touch with second. And Ran Racing, a fairly solid day yesterday on 43. Platoon in 5th, 53. 1 point behind them is Brunenasek. Allegre, 58, Gladiator on 61, Sled 63, Paprec 64, 64 also for Sorsha, and Phoenix, Paul Kayard, and the team which is new to the 52 Super Series and to the World Championships on 71 points, and they had a black flag yesterday. So that's the leaderboard. The black flag, a really contentious topic yesterday. Phoenix got one, and then more particularly Quantum Racing got one in the last race. That's a 13-point penalty. They get the number of starters +1, and that in the end is much more, or 1 point more than they'd accumulated through the regatta so far. They're on 25 points, but we spoke with Maria, a race officer, and she explained what had happened. But let's have a look at the start first of all. This is how it played out. So you can see one thing that's evident is that the pin end boat is moving back and forwards on these big waves. And the key point as well is that the pin end mark is moving a little bit, but you can see Quantum are well forward on the line.
Yeah, you just see Quantum's bow come up at the last minute, and it's very, very difficult in these conditions for the race officer, for everyone out there, to try and get it right. They're all trying to be perfect, even though there is a black flag. And like you say, having the pin end boat moving around so much makes it very, very difficult. It
makes it very difficult, and obviously it depends on the experience of the team in the pin end boat, being able to identify boats. We do have fairly consistent teams on the race course, laying the marks and spotting the boats, but there may have been an error there. I'm not quite sure, but certainly Quantum were black flagged. Whether there were other boats, it's unusual then to have a general recall. But say we did speak with Maria, and Maria first of all explained how the black flag rule works. So Maria, then first of all explain what the black flag rule is and why do you use it?
Yeah, the black flag means that in the last minute before the start, the boats must be not on the course side of the line, but behind. And it's different than the Papa flag, that the boats can be over the line, and then after a recall, they can come back and restart.
So why do you use it? Under what circumstances do you use the black flag?
We normally use it when the starting line is well set, and the boats are over early. It's like a penalty for them. We restart and we display the black flag.
So what happened yesterday with the Quantum and Phoenix?
They started over before the very last seconds, and then they cannot come back and restart. Is the rule.
And obviously, the Quantum's contention was that the pin was moving, or the line was not the same as what they thought it was.
Yeah, when we have such a big waves as we had yesterday, and we lay the line with a lot of rope, and then the line moves a little bit. The pin and the race committee boat, is that the line?
So just to clarify, just what Maria is saying, that the line is between the pin end and the flag on the committee boat. Doesn't matter if the pin end boat is moving slightly or how that has been pinged by the GPS of the various different teams.
Yeah, the line is the line. Maria's got her orange flag, and the pin end has their orange flag. And if the the pin end flag. She stood directly under hers. If that is obscured by any boat, wherever it is, like she said, there's very, very deep out there, very, very big waves, but the line is the line. And if a boat is obscuring her view of the orange flag, they're over. Simple.
That's right. Anyway, how much do we think that Quantum will have been put off by that penalty yesterday? I think they'll be back out fighting today in normal business.
Absolutely. They've seen the points gap close. They've got their biggest rivals breathing down their neck. 9 points. It is achievable for a team like Azura. But I think Quantum, one of the most professional teams out here, the biggest amount of experience throughout their team, there's nothing they can do about that result. They have to go out and just continue the way they were going. You look at their previous results, they're not going to be looking at anything other than a top 3 result. They'll put this one behind them. I don't think it'll unsettle them too much. We won't see anything drastic from them.
I don't think so. I think if anything, we'll see them fired up more than usual today. But we have an AP up on the race course. The breeze, we're expecting the breeze to be moving around quite a lot today. It's been quite unsettled with some rain showers going through over the course of the morning. That's the images from the race course just now. We can see the AP up. Crevettes are there, just milling around, keeping an eye on the progression of the breeze, how it evolves. Big waves again.
Yeah, as we see here from these pictures, big waves, very difficult conditions for the race officer. Again, they'll be moving around a lot. We've said before that the waters off of Menorca are very, very deep, maybe 30 or 40 meters there, so they're having to put out 60, 70 meters worth of chain to try and get their line right. This is very, very difficult conditions for them, and the sailors just have to be patient with them.
Indeed, the sailors have to be patient. Everybody wants to have as perfect races as possible, equable and fair, rather than trying to follow a schedule and get races away at 12:30 or 12:30ish as planned. They'd rather wait and have a good course and an even course.
Yeah, exactly. There's the sailors are out there to do 2 races today, exactly like you say, fair. And Maria's doing a very, very good job out there in very, very difficult conditions. And I'm sure they all appreciate the pressure she's under to try and get 2 races away. But they want those 2 races to be good ones and finish off the series here in good form.
That's right. 3:30, I think, is our cut-off. There is no warning signal can be given after 3:30 on the final day of any 52 Super Series regatta or indeed the World Championships. So no immediate time pressure. We'll just wait, and we'll wait and we'll go straight back out onto the race course as soon as we have a warning signal sounded. The weather forecast for today were breezes in between the north and the northeast, much as we had in the second part of yesterday and the previous day, and that's been quite a difficult race course. We spoke with Stefan Neve, the skipper of Paprec, and he gave us his view before he went off the dock into Port Mahon. So very quickly, Stefan, the weather today, what's going to happen?
Well, we expect the wind to turn on the left, so it's going to be very shifty because of the island, so condition will be tricky today.
Is that good for you?
I don't think so. Strong wind we want.
Well, indeed, never quite sure, but Paprec lying in 10th place. They had a good middle section of the regatta with 9.55, but yesterday an 11th and a 10th. But Fergal, you had a forecast from your weather team. What was it showing?
We've actually been pretty lucky with the forecast we've been given. It's quite accurate. Starting off in the north, 0 to 030, 15 to 19 knots. We saw the rain showers and the squalls this morning, which we were expecting. And we'll see the breeze go a little bit right. As you can see there, it is trending towards the right, maybe up to 40 degrees. So maybe not huge shifts, but still shifts that will affect being on the right or the left of the course. The island's obviously giving off a lot of different weather in this wind direction with the north. We've got a big land mass in front of us that the wind's going to be bending off, so there could be left pressure involved there. But the wind trending right means that it could be a bit of a split course throughout the day.
That's right. I mean, so far in that course, there's not been the right or the left has paid in successive races, really, has it? It seems to have been quite an open course, one with lots of opportunities, and most especially it seems to have been enjoyed by the teams.
Yeah, we saw the pin end boats yesterday. The Brunello team really favouring the left on the first beat. They tried the same again on the second beat, and Azura took to the right. and Azura came out on top. So it is an even track with different pressures across it. So one side on the first beat can pay, and one side on the second beat can pay. And it's just that decision and the conversations between the navigators and the tacticians and the briefing they got in their weather forecasts as to which side they're going to go and when. And they just have to be looking around the track, see what happens on the downwind sections. The first downwind is very, very important for the decision being made for the second upwind.
Indeed, as we saw, I think 2 days ago in the second race, on the same race course in this breeze just east of north, we saw Provetza go off the pin end, go left early on into a nice left shift, and they led all the way around the course. Correspondingly, yesterday in the same breeze, they went off the pin end and were last by some distance in that second race. So there's really no obvious pattern day to day, and this is one of the reasons that the teams really are loving the open race course out there off Port Mahon.
Yeah, exactly. We've said it so many times this week that it's not like Palma, and we do get there's a bit of luck involved. It's not just straightforward. Anyway.
Phoenix were one of the teams that had the black flag yesterday in race number 7. This is a team which is new to the 52 Super Series. The boat is well known. It was previously owned by Eduardo de Souza Ramos, who's a very well-known Brazilian sailor. Now he's sold it on subsequently to Richard Cohen, an American Grand Prix sailor, who in the meantime has Paul Kayard skippering with Peter Holmberg, and they're finding things a little bit tough. And Peter Holmberg sailed last year as a tactician on board Interlodge. He's back a year on, and he told us this morning that he really felt that the fleet level has moved up significantly within the last year. Okay, so with Peter Holmberg from the Phoenix. Peter, how's it been this regatta then?
It's been harder than I would like it to have been. I was here a year ago in the same seat coming in late in the season, and this is much harder this year. I was hoping it wouldn't be so hard. All the teams have lifted their games, and we're fresh, so it's a compliment to the class. So, you know, if we could come in and do better, then it's not very good class. So, but it's tough taking our blows.
What's the learning then for Cascais?
Yeah, exactly right. You know, it's a 2 regatta program for us this year, and it's all about coming in here and learning, and so the debrief will come.
What's the elements of the debrief? What do you think?
It's style, it's speed, boat speed, and style of sailing. So speed and tactics. And, you know, I'm the tactician. I think we need better speed. He thinks I need better tactics. It's the usual. But they're both true, you know. Speed you must have. And with that, then I think my game gets easier. So we both have to sit down and learn that.
Can you see where more speed will come from? Other than the helmsman?
We got a pretty good helmsman. He's done a few things well. It's a full team thing. It's the trimmers. It's all of us. Like I say, the game's gotten much better, and the bar's pretty high right now. So we've got to come away from this and really look at everything, and some little tweaks in sails, some tweaks in our style, and then hopefully we'll do better.
Well, plenty of food for thought for Peter Holmberg, Paul Kayard, and the team from Phoenix. They will be looking to finish the regatta with 2 good scores today. They had a good third yesterday, and that certainly has lifted the mood and put them in a positive frame of mind for this final day. Ran Racing yesterday. Well, they're presently in 4th place. They had a modest day with a 10th in the first race and a 6th in the second race, but they've been fairly consistent, lying in 4th place. Morgan Larson is the tactician on board Ran, working in concert with Adam Bischel as strategist. Let's say they're lying in 4th place, in touch with second, you would think. Still a possibility for them. They were the 2013 world champions. We spoke very briefly with Morgan before he went off the dock this morning. So Morgan, thoughts for the final day? What's the objective?
Well, I think, you know, everybody's feeling like it's time to really move, and it's 2 races to go. And I think there's quite a few boats that feel like they have a shot at the podium, and that's our objective.
Feel the pressure in the final day more than the first day?
I think the pressure's been on all week, and it's only getting stronger. And this field, you know, you got to really push, and we're feeling it. But looking forward to going out and having a good one. And look behind the camera there; it looks pretty good already.
Great. He was talking about the dress sense for the RAN racing boat captain Nipper was going out dressed as if he was heading to the Southern Oceans. But RAN racing is, say, one of the contenders at the moment. Could they get onto the podium there from fourth, do you think?
Oh, I think they've got a great shot. We've seen them have some really nice consistency throughout the regatta in their seconds, but also a couple of bad results in 10ths and 9ths, and I'm sure they would have preferred to have done better than a 6th. So they're going to go out, same as everyone else, looking to get on the podium today, and we may see a little battle between them and Preveza, but at the same time we may see a battle between Preveza and Azura, and obviously Azura chasing Quantum as well. So there could be a lot of tactics going on and a lot of strategy going on as to who you cover, where you start in relation to the boats who you want to beat. So I think that top 4, and even going into the second half of the fleet, or the second third of the fleet, platoon down to Gladiator, you'll see some tactics there.
Well, of course, RAN Racing were the 2013 world champions. Azura on the water are the defending champions. Quantum have also won the world championships. This is how it felt like back in Miami in 2013 in the sunshine, in March, when Nicholas Zenstrom and his team won the world title. On the last race, they passed Azura, as it were, and that's Azura winning in Puerto Portales last year. They really were a step ahead of the game at that point. And they really built so much of their cushion in Portales last year. But jubilant moments, Alberto Romers Jr. there going in, Guillermo Parada going in, Vasco Vascotto. Hopefully they can get back into that winning vein and may be able to challenge Quantum today on the final day. A few words about Azura then. 2 wins yesterday. They'll be on top form going onto the water today.
Yeah, I think yesterday was you can't do any better than 2 firsts. They went out heads up and really dug deep into, and they were. I don't think they would count themselves fortunate that Quantum went out. They would have sailed exactly the same race had Quantum been there. Maybe the result might have been different, but they'll be going out today, highest momentum in the whole fleet, and we'll see.
One of the big investments that goes on each year with the 52 Super Series by the shareholders and the management is in the consistency of our umpiring. We have on-the-water umpires. It's been part of the programme since 2012, since we started. We have consistently the same umpires from regatta to regatta. Rob Wheeland explains why that is and what that brings to the series. So with Rob Whelan, the class manager for the TP52s. Rob, tell us a little bit about the umpiring. It's a big investment for the circuit. Why do we use it?
Well, it's a small group of people. We have 12 class members, 12 boats here. And if you end up every day in the room, in a protest situation, you potentially will not be friends very long. So the umpiring is a very good solution. You get your penalty on the water, you take your turns, and then your aggression can go towards the umpires. They are paid to take your shit, so to say, and they are very qualified to afterwards discuss the situation with you, and in general everybody leaves in peace for their evening meal by then.
And of course, consistency is important. We have the same umpires all the way through the season. Yeah,
we have our head umpire, our chief umpire, Miguel Allen. He picks his team. He reports to me if people need to be replaced because they have other duties or are ill. And together we make sure there is a good standard, and I've now and then discussed new ideas. And we make sure we have a good team.
Yeah, we are always trying to develop some rules to adapt, because the rules in general are made for all kind of things that float. So we try to adjust them more to our reality, to the reality of this circuit. So we have a little tweaks in the rules that we believe that makes racing better for everyone. And at least as far as we know, everyone is quite happy with the system.
What's specific then, in that sense? What's specific to the 52s? What's the characteristics?
No, they have some details that has to do with the whole logistic of the boat. For example, for the starts, in spite of being everything that is over the line, we only count the hull, for example, because you cannot see the bowsprits over the water. For the finishing line, a little bit the same. So it's little things that because of the dimension of the boats and the characteristics of the boats and the racing we want to have. So the top mark configuration, we have a different one from normal racing, and it's been proven to work, so we're quite happy with that.
How does your relationship with the sailors, how does that evolve, and what's it like?
Yeah, usually it's quite good, because one of the best things of umpiring compared with normal judging is that we have a more personal relationship, because when we are on the water we decide, and then you cannot hide behind a committee of 5 and say, oh, I was not really agreeing. So yeah, we have to give the face out of it, so we can come to talk to them, and sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong, but they accept it, because as they make their tactics and they make their own mistakes, so we all can make them, and if we are fair to each other, I think we all respect each other, so it's quite good.
And from your guys' point of view, what do you get out of it? What do you enjoy?
Oh, we enjoy a lot, actually. This is, for me, I do a lot of different circuits, and this is, if not my favorite, is one of them for sure, because I like the boats, I like the environment. We're like a big family that we're holding together for a long time. And I think is the biggest characteristic of this circuit is, I know, at least I found out for Phoenix, for example, it's the first event they're coming here, and they feel well integrated, and they're all very, very positive about this. So I think that's the main thing, is the environment among all the parties, the organization, the race management, the teams. It's all a big family.
Good.
Yeah. Okay, welcome.
So it is all a big family, as Miguel says. It's so important that we have this continuity with the same group of umpires all the way through the season. And as he says, there's no hiding place. They make their decisions, they're human, and the sailors generally tend to accept these decisions and move on.
Yeah, I think some people out there might not appreciate the difficulty, the level of difficulty that the umpires have on the water. You know, they have to be really eagle-eyed, and they have to make sure that they're making the right decision in their minds. You can't hamper to the sailors screaming and shouting at you. If a decision's made, the decision's made, and you can't please everyone. But I think most of the time, 95% of the time, these umpires get it spot on, and it's a credit to them for their difficult job.
Absolutely, it's about the consistency of positioning and communicating with the other umpires, making they're in there, or they can foresee where the situations are going to arise, getting into the right positions, going into marks, and being able to then make the judgment quickly, cleanly, and ideally making it right at the time. But anyway, that's our umpiring system. They have been quite busy this year. Nothing, I don't think, too contentious we've seen over the course of the year. Let's have a look at our highlights from yesterday, and then we're going to take a short break, because I say we're still under AP on the water. The breeze is moving around, and they're still trying to lay the start line. All around the world today, Saturday, it's the International Coastal Cleanup Day, and of course for the 52 Super Series and our ongoing commitment to sustainability and environmental awareness, then it's a great day for our beach cleanup.
We had a perfect start of the day with 25 kids joining us here from the local yacht club to support our beach cleanup. We found something like 45 kilos of garbage. So yeah, we're still working on our mission.
Another important global event, which is particularly dear to the hearts of the 52 Super Series, is the Hearts Bash, a global sailing event which raises money for the Andrew Simpson Foundation, and that foundation brings young kids into sailing.
Well, today's the Bart's Bash in memory of Andrew Simpson, who's a good friend of many of us and colleague, and also a TP52 sailor himself on Origin. And he has this wonderful charity which helps get young kids sailing, both practically and with finance to help that across a number of countries. So we're going to try and stick our hands in our pocket, raise some money, and hopefully take a photo and join in the fun. Over 60 countries worldwide they'll be sailing today in memory of the big man. Even the Scotsman's putting money in. Is that a 50? Is that a 50?
Well, it's the penultimate day of racing here at the World Championships for the TP52 class here in Menorca. It should be another day of transition through the middle part of the day with a big change in the breeze, one or two showers perhaps, and at top of the table, Quantum Racing well clear. The battle really is for second at the moment.
This is a critical day, the penultimate day of the regatta, and quite a few boats very compacted on for second place. And at this point of the regatta, I think realistically the goal is going to be second place. Quantum is just untouchable, and they're just in a different league. And our focus can be avoiding the big dips, and not necessarily winning the race, but if you can get top 3, top 4, that's good in every race.
Race number 7 got away with the breeze at 240 degrees, around about 12 knots. Azura made the best start, close to the committee boat. The right side was favoured. They led all the way from the start, round the top mark. They're ahead of Sorcia with Provezza third, Platoon, Allegri, Quantum Racing in 5th down the first run. Provezza gained, got up to 2nd, past Sorcia. Quantum Racing managed to pip Provezza on the finish line, so take 2nd, but Azura win race 7.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's sort of the goal at the beginning of the week, is to be in contention at the end of the week, and really all you can ask for if you can go into the last day with a shot at the podium. So, and here we are with a shot at the podium tomorrow. So.
Well, the big drama of the day happened. One of the start sequences for race 8 held under a black flag, and Quantum Racing were judged to be transgressors. They fell foul of the black flag and had to sit out race number 8 completely. They were disqualified from the race and copped 13-point penalty. Brunellesec, however, started 1/3 up from the pin when the race got going. Azura went out to the right, Brunellesec more to the left. At the top mark, it was Brunellesec leading ahead of Azura, then Sled, Gladiator and Phoenix. Down at the leeward gate, well, Azura and Brunellesec went to different gates. Azura went to the right gate looking upwind, Brunellesec to the left, and Azura then led all the way around the course. Sled gained and got up to 2nd. Phoenix had some great tactics and got 3rd, and across the finish line, Brunellesec 4th. But 2 wins for Azura, the great challenge as we go into the final day.
We are happy, and we are also lucky that there is somebody that today, first time in the week, almost in the season, make a mistake. The Quantum guys are doing a fantastic job during all the season, but luckily they are human. Looks like.
Yeah, good race for us, finally. And it's been shifty, and we've missed a few opportunities here and there, but it's actually been a really fun event because it's a fairly open course, as you guys can see. So there's opportunities all over the place, and we've, apart from the result, we've really been enjoying ourselves here.
So going into the final day, Quantum Racing leading on 25 points, Azura up to 2nd on 34 points, Provezza 37, Ran 43, and Platoon in 5th on 53 points. Well, what a dramatic way to finish the day here in Menorca for the 52 World Championships. Great racing today, final of the day, Super Sunday, all to play for, and the sun will be back. Well, I lied, I'm afraid. I was just guessing at that point that the sun would be back. I'm told that the sun will be back for the prize giving, which is at 5 or 5:30 this evening. That's when it's due to clear up. But meantime, we're still waiting out on the race course. We have a warning signal, I believe, at 1:15, 13:15, I believe, is the warning signal planned at the moment. They're still laying the start line and getting the course down. We're going to take a short break and join us again in a few minutes, hopefully, as we move into the start sequence for race number 9, the penultimate race of the 52 World Championship. Welcome back to Menorca for race number 9 of the World Championships for the TP52 class. We do have a course laid. We're inside the sequence. We're at 2.5 minutes before the start. We're going to hopefully join Jono Fullerton. Jono's live on the start line. Jono, how are the conditions?
Well, it's dry at least. The rain's abated, but it's very overcast condition here. Very, very confused, sloppy sea, which is making the sailors really think about their start line techniques after the last couple of days. The breeze is up and down a bit. It's only really about 12-15 knots, but it's quite patchy. There's occasional little gusts from the north, and as you say, just about to get going with this race any moment now.
Indeed, 150, thanks Jono. So probably 12, 13 knots. The breeze looks a little bit lighter than that, Fergal.
Yeah, we were expecting to see 14 to 18 at this time of day, and it looks like the easing of the breeze has come a little earlier. We were expecting to see down 12 to 16 more towards 3-4 o'clock this afternoon, but certainly at the moment it looks more like 10 to 12 knots, and with these big seas it's going to make really the conditions really difficult for the sailors out there.
And the delay, of course, the tension will have been rising progressively as they're waiting to get underway, particularly when the breeze is moving around. It makes the first call ever bigger, ever more intense, ever more difficult to make, with the breeze moving around so much and a lot of cloud activity, and that will pull the wind direction around. Anyway, Gladiator looking to set up in the middle of the line, Paprec towards the pin end along with Quantum, Platoon.
Yeah, it seems to be a much more even line. We're not seeing anyone really going for the pin here. Got a few more boats up towards the weather end of the committee at the committee boat end, but with 30 seconds to go, we're seeing a much more evenly based line.
Looking fairly conservative at the moment. I think everybody will be shaken up by the black flags, especially when it's the team which are leading the 52 Super Series by so much. Certainly the benchmark team, when they're penalised like that yesterday, then everybody will be a little bit more cautious just now. At just coming up to 10 seconds to go, certainly Quantum looking fairly cautious. Paprec lining up second up from the pin end.
To try and get a hook on them, but it looks to me like a clear start. Maybe one of the boats up at the there's one boat up at the committee boat end just caught out on the wrong side of the committee boat, but hopefully that's a clear start and we don't see a general recall, or for any of the teams out there we hope we don't see any individual recalls either. But obviously the sailors very anxious to get going. They've been waiting around a long time, and there you see Gladiator and Provetza both called back individual recalls, having to go back, which is a shame for both boats. They would have thought they were getting good starts, and then to be told they have to go back is very, very tough to get back into the fleet for both
particularly
of them.
for Provetza. Provetza lying third overall, challenging for second. They've had a fairly steady string of results, 4-1-3-7. So that's a tough one, Provetza, just when they didn't need it. And Sled also, by the looks of things, or Sled taking a penalty.
It looked like Sled were just held out the committee boat end, so they had to do a big tack round and a jibe, and then restart the race from there. I don't think they were over, but certainly when you get up into that committee boat end, if there's one boat to leeward who has the right of way there, then Sled can't come charging in and they get held out. But that's just racing.
Meantime, the runway opening up nicely for Quantum Racing. Made a relatively conservative start, but had pace off the line and have a nice position. They have a nice lane. They have Platoon just above them and in no way hampering them. Ran racing just to weather as well. I think Ran going quite well.
I think one thing we always see from Quantum is they never put themselves in a position on the start line where they can be in trouble. They always, not conservative, they're always up on the line, but they're never around other boats. They're never being dictated by other boats, and they just keep themselves out of trouble, and they get this clear start, fast start, and the combination of Ed Baird driving and Terry Hutchinson doing tactics, it's a formidable duo, and for them to just stay out of trouble, do their own thing, they then get to, you see, from here, you say they had a bit of a conservative start, but according to this, 2 minutes up the racecourse, they're 25 metres in front.
certainly conservative in terms of not pushing the line too far, too hard, but they came off there with pace. And as I say, the key position on the left side of the line, down towards the pin. They had the boat nearest them was Paprec, who you would imagine that they have a speed edge over. And as we said before, so often for them it's really just about getting into a decent position, a nice lane, and then really let the boat, let the trimmers, let the helmsmen do what they do best, which is making the boat go fast. So it's working just now for Quantum.
I think one of the other notable starts here is you see Ran just left of the picture. Probably if Quantum tacked, they might be bow to bow with Ran here, but Ran obviously looking to get into the podium position. Obviously they've seen Provetsa having to go back. That'll give them a bit more of a confidence boost. Provetsa are going to have to fight very, very hard to get back into this race, and Ran will enjoy being up the front and hoping to capitalise on Provetsa's mistake.
We do seem to be in quite a right phase of the breeze anyway.
You see Sorcha tacking off there. They're being probably a little bit affected by Azura having to tack off to get their clear air, and I think we'll probably see Allegre go fairly soon if Azura keep their bow going forward.
Yeah, certainly Ran seem to have strengthened their position. See the breeze gone right, and that has been to Ran's advantage just now.
And given this little right shift, as we saw in the forecast, it will be going from 030 up to 040. So there are righties expected, and maybe even the boats such as Gladiator and Provetsa, who were only given the option to go out to the right after a bad start. It might bring them back into the mix a little bit. We've already seen the gain line close since they tacked. Gladiator and Provetsa were 500 metres behind. That's now halved thanks to that little shift. So it brings them back in, and they'll be looking or hoping that righty stays in. They can make bigger gains on the boats who are being stuck out to the left at the moment.
Shot there of Platoon then. Platoon pretty much mid-fleet just now and challenging for 5th and 6th. Just the weather of their Quantum teammate, Quantum Racing. Two boats running on the same programme.
Yeah, Platoon will be... they will have looked at the scoreboard this morning. They'll know their expectations for today. I don't think there aren't enough points available for Platoon to win this regatta, but they've got to be looking at the boats around them. They're 10 points behind Ran. They've only got 1 point buffer on Brunellasek behind them, and 4 points back to Allegre. So they're going to be looking to hold on to that 5th position, if not extend up into 4th. They'll have a tough job to keep the boats behind them, and they'll have a very tough job, especially in this race with Ran doing so well, to catch them up.
Sorcha also seemed to have got off the line in reasonable shape. They had to take a couple of sterns initially. They've got themselves out to the right. They've used the right side quite often on the upwinds. I think they were second or third at the top mark yesterday. I believe that Neil McDonald's steering as of yesterday afternoon.
Well, it's. I mean, that's obviously a huge benefit to get someone like him, one of the top British sailors, of all time, stepping into the helm. It's a shame that the owner had to go back for his own personal or business reasons. But to have someone like Neil to be able to take over is a massive gain to the team. And I think Sorcha will do as they've done all week, which is just keep their air clear, sail their own race. We haven't seen them get into too many battles with other boats or attacking duels, which we might see today. They had some really good runs. They've had a 6, a 4, a 6, and a 5 throughout the week, and they'll be racing with Paprec and Sled and Gladiator today. They're their biggest rivals, and should they get a good result up in the top 4, then we could see them jump up a few places.
It's still very close in the top 5, top 6 places, or certainly top 5. There's only 30 metres, then a jump or a gap between Phoenix and Quantum just now.
And the right shift proving again that the boats who were out the back, we saw them at 250 metres about 2 minutes ago. That's almost halved again. You see Gladiator and Provetsa now at 150 metres. So we should see the the whole pack really condense at the top mark. You could see an interesting top mark here.
So 1.8 nautical mile beat, which is set corresponding to, as I say, 12, 13 knots of breeze. A little bit more just now.
Azura obviously keeping that momentum going forward from yesterday. They seem to be in a really, really strong position. They have round down to leeward of them now. Brunellasek just up to windward, and they enjoyed these kind of conditions. As we've always spoken about, they're a really, really focused, good team, and they're coming to the money end of the regatta, and they're really putting the focus into keeping the motivation from yesterday and coming out on top. And you know, they've yesterday morning they might have been thinking that Quantum were out of reach. This morning, totally different game.
That was Vasco's words, where last night was Quantum racing a human after all. I think in one of his Italian quotes, he said, up till now they've appeared like Martians, but today they're human, and yesterday when they made that mistake, getting the black flag, then that was evidence that they are fallible. But Azura leading just now ahead of Brunellasek by 25 metres at just over half a mile to the windward mark.
Actually speaking to one of the Azura shore crew this morning, saying going out on the water yesterday, there were 24 points available and they only managed to come out with 2 of them. So I don't think he's actually quite got the grasp of how the scoring works yet. I won't tell you who he is, but he has got a Kiwi flag behind his name.
Dear, dear, dear. Anyway, Azura strengthening their position. Sorsha going well, as are Ran. Phoenix were out in the early right, coming into this race from a third in the second race yesterday.
Yeah, we really see how much the wind has shifted right there. The boats that took that early right, such as Phoenix, they didn't go all the way out to what they thought was the ley line. We actually saw them in the middle.
Ending up above ley line,
and
yeah.
We'll see Allegre, possibly Gladiator and Provetza, Phoenix, and maybe even Sorcha if they don't have to tack again, already on ley line. And the boats who are out on the left are going to have to deal with that right pressure and not have such a good entry into the mark on the port ley line.
And as you say, it could be quite a compact situation coming into the top mark.
And this is where the umpires will earn their money, as Miguel said before in his interview, that they, and as you said, they're going to be now thinking about where to position themselves. They're going to have 4 or 5 boats coming across on the port ley line. The tension is going to be very, very high out there coming to the end of the regatta.
So they're talking to each other all the time. We have 4 umpire boats, so each umpire pair looks after 3 boats in the entry to the top mark in this situation. And Miguel will dictate where he wants the boats. A lot of the times it's the same pattern, but in particular they'll make sure they have a boat watching the port ley line coming in.
And they also have to be, we have two umpires on each boat, and they have to make sure that they're in small ribs, and there's a lot of boats, big boats around them going very, very fast. They need to be really on the ball, and whilst doing their umpiring and calling the boats they're looking after, they also have to have eyes in the back of their heads for the other boats coming in around them. So especially in these conditions, you've got these big waves, and sometimes you've got one of these 52s coming through a trough, and they might be on the other side. They really have to keep their wits about them out there. Very, very difficult job.
That's right. Of course, it is their. In general, these are professional umpires. It's their day job. Some of them do work freelance in other businesses, but a lot of them are doing 150, 200 days a year of umpiring, and so they really are at the cutting edge of the sport. Anyway, Quantum seems to be pinned out a little bit on this left side for the meantime. That right shift has not done them any favours even after that strong start.
You see how much focus and energy they put in straight after the attack. You see straight into hiking. There's no let up. You know, they might think now, look, there's been a big righty, we have to deal with it, and but there's no let up in the guys on the rail. They're all going to be putting 110% in, full focus, and that's just the quality and professionalism of that team.
Absolutely, they were waiting there, I think, for platoon to tack. I think now just going bow to bow, I think, with Brunellasek, wasn't it?
Yeah, we see Quantum. I think they've got Ran just up above them, and they'll be looking at the back of Azura there. But they'll still be coming in on a strong line. But they have got 5-6 boats going to be coming in on starboard, who they have to give way to. And sometimes, if you've got a procession of three boats, that's a 150 foot dip they have to make. But I'm sure they'll be looking to find a good lane and hook into whatever right pressure there is. And if they can make a good lee bow on one of the boats coming in on starboard, then we're talking about the #1 team throughout this season and throughout many seasons in the past. They're not gonna come out last at the top mark, I'm sure.
So there we are at the top mark. Or actually, that's the black mark is this protector mark that just protects the port tack ley line, shepherds the fleet or the boats coming in on port out away from the really tight port tack ley line. Just you can see that working there.
Yeah, I think that's been a really good influence this year. We've seen so many times boats coming in on the real port ley line, and there's been a couple of incidents over the years where safety has become an issue. You see these bowsprits are 2 meters over the front of the boat, and you take out stanchions where the guys are hiking out from, and it is very dangerous. So I think it's a very good safety measure that we have put that mark in place.
So change of course to the downwind mark, or downwind gate 205, reflecting that shift to the right. Anyway, Azura leading round the top mark with Ran Racing in second. Azura won twice back-to-back yesterday and leading round the top mark with a lead of 50 metres or so on Ran Racing. And in these shifty conditions, that size of lead is enough of a platform to extend, you would imagine. Anyway, Brennesek round in third, Phoenix in fourth, Quantum in fifth.
And we have Sorcha just slightly ahead of Quantum there, according to this. They go around 4 seconds in front of Quantum. Quantum will be looking to capitalise on the slightly older boat in front and make big gains on them there.
Just seeing them again, right shift, and the kites are up on the offset leg by the looks of things. And correspondingly immediate jibe sets, or generally immediate jibe sets at the offset mark in the right shift. That's what Azura have gone for. Interesting to see Morgan Larson and Adam Michel choosing to carry on out to the right. Peter Holmberg also on the Phoenix, carrying on out to the right, looking downwind. But once again, credit to Vasco Vascotto and the Azura team not giving up their world title hopes just because they have a deficit of 9 points going into this race. Carrying on the winning momentum.
And they'll be looking back and hoping that the boats that are in front of Quantum will be able to provide a nice 5-place buffer between them. And there's some very good teams in there. Ran, Brennesek, Phoenix and Sorcha in between them are not going to just happily let them pass. They're going to be fighting for their places as well. Everyone, I think every boat out here
little surge
has
of speed there for Azura as they get onto a big wave. 1.5 to 2 meter waves. Bit more breeze at the top mark, I believe. Intelligence from the race course says it's a bigger swell and more wind at the top mark, and certainly starting to see Azura surfing. People can get to the back of the bus, you think, and get the bow out?
Yeah, I think they will see them move slightly back. We see their bowman just there. He's just been putting the staysail up and making sure the jib's okay. If you do bury the bow in this, there's a real danger of the jib getting washed away. Not washed away, but opening up, and they don't want that. So there's a lot of importance in the bowman, although they don't want him up there, to be making sure that jib's okay. And should they go bury their bow, that it's not going to go anywhere.
So Quantum in 6th place at the moment, in contact with Sorcha. Sorcha would be their first scalp, as it were, first boat in front of them they'll be focusing on.
Yeah, but they've got two very, very good teams breathing down their necks. Platoon and Sled coming down very, very fast. I think Platoon getting the advantage there over Sled. They actually went around one place behind them, but I think maybe they got a better jibe set and have managed to roll them. And now they're going to be breathing down the necks of Quantum. You know, they've got the same sail set up, like we've said.
Very, very much a processional downwind, isn't it?
It is unfortunately.
Azura have opened up a huge gap already. When we say they were 50 metres ahead at the top mark, it's now 250 metres.
I don't think we're seeing in the graphic here that the course has been changed. I think that what the graphic is showing here is the original bottom mark. So I don't think these boats are overstanding. I think the new mark will be much further to the right of the picture, and there'll still be a couple of jibes in. If that's the case, that this is the true bottom mark, then we might find that RAN have got a bit of a problem as they stayed on the starboard after the top mark. But I think what we'll see is Azura doing a couple more jibes, and that the bottom gate will be slightly more to the right thanks to this wind shift. Or right downwind as we see it. We said earlier in the week that Brunello were on the up after a bad start, and they're enjoying being up in the money again. Second place behind
3-4-7-4. They've been in the last 4 races, and I think yesterday they were further up the fleet before they had that 7th.
Yeah, they really enjoyed that first half of the second race, leading for 2 legs, and I think. You know, you can't let up in this fleet. There are going to be boats chasing you down all the time and making radical decisions, maybe to go out to the right and try and gain on them. And a couple of boats did. I think we saw Allegre and Sorcha go really well down on the right in the second half of the race, and it cost Brunello, unfortunately, for them. Allegre doing the same thing. I think they actually stayed on at the top mark slightly, and they seem to be further to leeward of the fleet.
It would be great if we could just get a view of the leeward gate from this long lens, but at the moment the shot showing that there's plenty of breeze out there. We're just starting to see Azura jibing, which would suggest, as you said, that the gate mark, well, we know the gate mark has been moved to the right. The bearing was 205.
Phoenix having a really nice run there. We just saw on the left of the picture before we panned across that they were coming down really well, and I think it was really nice in that interview with Peter Holmberg this morning, a legendary sailor with a legendary helmsman with him, complimenting the fleet on how they've come over this year since Cascais, since he was with us.
Absolutely, but I mean the other point to make is that they may be somewhere down in the basement of the fleet at the moment. As I say, it's a learning regatta, a learning curve for them at the moment, but they're absolutely loving it. They're loving the competitiveness of the racing. It's so intense, and it's really forces them to raise their game as a team and as individuals. And I think we'll see them in Cascais, a stronger and better team, and evidence of that just now. Certainly with that third yesterday in the second race is a nice foundation to build on. But rather ominously, Quantum Racing have taken a place or a couple of places down this run. I think Azura may well be too far ahead, but
Azura already showing that form that they had in the first and second race, but definitely the first race of yesterday where they just got that commanding lead. We see already 220 metres. Obviously you gain so much being the first boat round the mark and being able to extend that lead immediately, going down these waves and really pushing away from the boat still coming upwind. We'll see the lead shrink as they start to go slower upwind.
The boats coming across the offset leg are doing 8 or 9 knots, possibly less, and suddenly you're doing 12, 15 for a matter of 30 seconds, a minute or whatever, and that's where the lead initially extends, and then suddenly you're in clear air, able to use the smaller shifts in the waves without being impeded or hindered by boats round about you.
So we should see a slightly more even track upwind now that they've just moved the bottom mark over to the right a little bit more. They'll or over to the left, looking upwind to even out the course. And
So
still
we see Azura round the right-hand mark of the leeward gate, looking upwind. No other boats in the picture. A situation that we saw a couple of times yesterday in the end, and Azura on formidable strength at the moment in these conditions. Brunellasek also, the sister ship.
seem to have taken their kite down a really, really long way away from the mark, Brunellasek there. They've got a long way to go, as we saw where Azura dropped right on the mark. These guys seem to have dropped it 50 metres earlier. So they're coming in a little bit slow, which gives some of the boats behind with their kites still up a little bit more time to catch up. They're obviously agreeing with Azura that the right-hand mark is the way to go. Maybe they're thinking that there is still more pressure over on the right. You see how long...
Ran Racing coming in, chased by Quantum. Quantum trying to get inside them at the mark.
We see how much longer Quantum kept their kite up than Brunellasek there. I think Brunellasek dropped maybe 10, 15 metres earlier, which is a boat length, and that might become a boat length gain to Quantum. And like we said at the top, you can't discount Quantum. They came into the top mark in 5th place, and on one leg they've managed to get up to 3rd. So it's an incredible feat by them.
I think our leeward gate's a little bit skewed. Yeah,
there we go.
Hyperspace
That's
to
better.
where Ran Racing were. But Ran and Quantum going round at approximately the same time. And I think that Virtual Eye will just recalibrate itself. And you'll see Quantum not quite as good as they were initially.
And Sled, I think, is the boat of that run. They've jumped. If what we're
saw
seeing
that
is
with
right.
the live pictures coming from the water, that they were just ahead of Ran and Sled. Sorry, Ran and Quantum.
I think the boats for me on that downwind were Sled and Paprec. Paprec just going around the right mark. Sled jumped from 8th to 5th and Paprec from 10th to 8th. So nice little gains for them.
Apparently a gain for Ran. Anyway, here we're looking at Platoon going upwind. Harmuller Sprayer, tactician Marcus Vaser, and strategist Mallorcan ace Jordi Calafat, the 92 Olympic gold medalist and America's Cup winner.
Platoon, I think they went around the mark at the bottom mark in the same place, but they'll be looking to take some scalps upwind to keep their 5th place. Unfortunately, Brunellasek doing so well, rounding in 2nd at the bottom, will not be looked on happily by the platoon team as it closes the gap from the 1 point gap that they only hold over Brunellasek, which will...
Platoon going into their attack will go back, or they're attacking because Allegri, I think it is, but it's below them.
I think we'll probably see still a right favoured course. They have moved the gate, obviously, to try and fare up the course, but I think we will see a little bit more of a right trend. Obviously, the boats who went down the right side of that run, the ones who did the jibe sets very early.
Little shot of our umpires there and their small turquoise coloured ribs just coming upwind to get into position. Just see how they position themselves. They're watching the cross between Platoon and Paprec and Provetza. So just get themselves into position to see both boats on the converging course. And that's Sorsha. Sorsha, we're up there or on the approach to the top mark. We're 4th or 5th. Yeah,
they lost a little downwind there. They've got a lot of boats breathing down their necks, and there is a slight change. They've been used to all week one driver, and now they've got one person out of place. Neil does I'm not sure the position which Neil sails on the boat normally, but they've had to make that small change. And
also, when you say that Neil's an incredibly experienced driver, I don't imagine that he's had a huge amount of helm time on the Sorsha, and it's such a particular skill, and these boats feel very different, the subtleties and nuances of making them go fast. So it will be it'll be something new to him, or relatively new to him, when you're up against such a competition who are helming their boats all the time, like Nicholas Enstrom, like Ed Baird. It's a big ask of Neil MacDonald, even with his skill level.
Yeah, exactly. The whether professional or amateur, the helmsmen get a lot of practice, a lot of time behind the tillers, and they get coached very well by their tacticians or their coaches on board. So to take that hot seat as Neil has done and try and step into finding that groove straight away, like you say, even with his experience, is a tough ask for him. And being thrown in really at the deep end with these conditions as well, not as windy as we've seen, but still very, very big seas.
Now you're looking there at sled going upwind. We spoke with Ross McDowell this morning, and he said that there'll be lots of opportunities out there, but they have been down to, I think, 12th or 11th place early on in the regatta, getting themselves up to 9th overall at the moment, but they're absolutely loving it. And Ross said they're having so much fun. And he said Cascais will be the big one for them. They're going to win there.
Yeah. You can't count them out. They've got the number 3 on the bow. They earned that last year in Cascais, taking on Provetsa and Platoon and coming out on top. And they're a very, very, very strong team, which we've seen throughout the year. And they would have been maybe haunted by those first 3 results a little bit earlier in the week, but to come back, they've got podium positions already. They got that second yesterday, and they're not going to give up in any way, and they're going very, very well today. And if they can hang on to the 4th, which we're told they're in,
you're kind of seeing the sled of old, if you like.
Yeah. So they're hotly breathing down the neck of Gladiator. And right now, unfortunately, Gladiator's bad start in that, and Sled's race going so well for them at the moment, we might see a change in the switch up in the results there too.
Meantime, that lead for Azura, 150, 160 metres, lost a very little bit, but Berenasek and Ran Racing alternating second place, Ran up to second just now. A little bit further right and getting more of the right gain, seeing Quantum there, the right of our picture. Quantum still in 5th or 6th.
I think one of the other boats out there who know they've got a big job ahead of them today is Provetsa. They've got Ran, one of the very best teams out there, heavy down their neck. It's only 6 points behind them, if I'm right, and they know that after their bad start, that they've really, really got to push their boat as hard as they can to make sure that Ran don't jump ahead of them in the leaderboard, or don't close the gap and go into the second race today with more of a buffer, or not having them so close to them.
I mean, we talk about this relatively glibly as the World Championship, but obviously the big picture, the big prize is the 52 Super Series, the 5 regattas over the course of the year. This is the 4th one. We've still got Cascais to go, and that's really where the focus is over the course of the whole season, race by race. And so these rivalries for the World Championship are taken into account on the water just now. But most of the teams really looking at the big picture, the season-long standings. And in actual fact, a lot of the rivalries are quite similar in the overall standings. Provetsa, Ran, Platoon, and they're all in the same part of the standings, as it were. They're all very, very close on points. And so that is really, as much as anything, what affects tactics on the water in terms of boat for boat.
Yeah, we see at the end of each regatta, the last day, all the boats looking at the results and trying to figure out who they've got to beat where and who they've got to keep behind them for this regatta. But Cascais is almost like the last day of a series. Mm-hmm. It's the last event of the series, and they've got to think a lot more about the first day, who they've got to beat, and there's a lot more strategy going into the very last event when there's such few points between the top teams.
Much more about the boat for boat rivalries in the last regatta, and we saw that last year with the last event when, as we said, that third place went down to the wire, went down to the last race, and it was taken then by sled, and I can certainly foresee that happening again, maybe even for second and third. But although Quantum didn't have the best of days yesterday and a little bit further down the order just now than they would like to be, their overall lead at the top of the 52 Super Series is pretty handsome. Anyway, pretty gusty out there, big seas. So just to remind you, this is the Balearics off the island of Menorca. We're not looking at Cape Horn or the Western Atlantic or anything.
Certainly doesn't look comfortable for those guys out there having to hike out off the rail.
Not at all, and this is a team from the yacht club Costa Smeralda. Be a long time since you've seen waves like that on the Costa Smeralda.
We have a couple of rough days every year down in Bomb Alley in Porto-Cervo, but not quite as big as these.
And usually there's sunshine, which always makes it feel a little bit better. And we ran racing, credit to them, lying second overall. They're about 17 or 90 metres ahead of Brunello now.
Yeah, they made a really good gain. They went the opposite mark to Brunello at the bottom. I think they rounded around the same time as Quantum. And upwind, well, we saw them go really, really well upwind in the first beat, and they've mimicked that by taking a couple of places on the second beat as well, and coming all the way out to the port ley line. Well, I think we just see them tacking there, but they're in a commanding position for second place, and won't be looking at Azura as uncatchable. They're chasing first place. They're not defending second place here. I think they're still chasing first.
That's the best way. Attack is the best form of defence. And similarly, Azura will not be letting up in any way, particularly in these conditions.
No, and we see with the increasing breeze, we've come. I think at the beginning of the race, we were kind of seeing a little lull in the forecast, and now we're seeing what the forecast really had, which was 18 knots and gusts up to 20. So Azura will be looking to get around this top mark really as quick as possible and extend their lead. Like we said on the last run, that you get that extension straight away of nearly a 10 knot difference as soon as you get your kite up. So they're going to be looking to just extend and extend here and do, well, 3 bullets in a row. You just don't get better.
Indeed, anyway, it's 1:45 local time here in Menorca. Conditions fantastic, really. Could do with some sunshine, but nobody complaining. Really a little bit chilly even for September here, but say at 1:45 we should be reasonably confident we can get a second race away. Race number 10 off the series. As I said earlier on in the day, the time limit for any start on the last day of championship or the 52 Super Series is 3:30, and that's for the warning signal. So it's on average about 15 minutes a leg, a little bit less downwind, pretty much that upwind, and so we should be able to get another race away before 3 o'clock without too many problems. Assuming the breeze holds steady, and it looks pretty good for that just now, and it looks pretty good for Azura. Lost a little bit of a lead of their lead to Ran Racing, but it's all downhill from mark number 3, final windward mark of this race. Penultimate race off the 52 World Championship, and it is the defending champions Azura, which won comprehensively just over a year ago in Puerto Portales, the home port in fact for the boat. That's where the boat was kept, and that's where they won the world title. So as I said, not giving up the title easily. Quantum Racing there just coming through in 5th or 6th position. 5th, I think, round the mark.
Yeah, Azura will be looking at this downwind. Just they know they've got a very nice buffer, and
they'll be monitoring Quantum's progress and willing sled onwards ever faster.
I think they'll be taking a lot of care down here. They don't want to have any mistakes. They know they've got their nice lead, but they've also know they've got to keep it.
Absolutely, keep the sails intact. In particular, remember the second race for Azura, they blew a kite coming into the leeward or coming into the finish. But look at that, fantastic shots as they accelerate in the big breeze and the surf.
Yeah, really good set for them, nice and quick. Nice and controlled. We saw them do their big bow down just to get the kite filled nice and early. They bring it back up afterwards, straight away into a wave and straight away into probably 17, 18 knots we're seeing here.
What's the communication just now between Guillermo and the kite trimmer?
Well, they've sailed together for so long that they almost don't need much communication. The kite trimmer is asking him to catch every wave. So they can get a nice big pump on the kite, a nice big pump on the weight. I think the main trimmer will be there pumping as well, which we can see the boom coming in and out each wave. But I think in a team, this core group have sailed together for so long, as we've said earlier in the week, the communication is probably more of at a minimum than you hear on some of the other boats, because they know each other so well and they know how to read each other. And I think their kite trimmer doesn't really need to tell Guige when to come down. He's got someone on the rail calling the waves in. They've got someone on the rail calling the breeze in. That's the main communication there, is knowing when they can come down and pump and do it all in unison and kind of just working like they're in clockwork mode.
Absolutely. And Grant Loretz, the trimmer, has won a few things in his day. Not least the America's Cup 3 or 4 times. So Azura on course for their third win in a row, their 5th of the regatta, incredibly. Under normal circumstances, you'd expect that to be a winning score, but they say they had a 10th in race 2 and 2 7th places during the regatta so far, so not quite gilt edge consistency, but nonetheless 5 wins from 9 starts. Not bad going.
One of the notable boats for me on that beat was Provetsa. We've spoken about them having a bad start at the beginning. They were over the line. They had to go back and restart, and they find themselves up in 7th. So it just shows that
I
attitude.
think they'll be 5th by the finish.
I think it's credit to their attitude on board, that never give up attitude, which all of the boats across the fleet have, and Provetsa really showing it off here. That they can get back in.
To be honest, it's not just about the attitude, it's about the attitude and then being able to convert it to places and meters gained. And I think that they're quite astute at that. They look at the opportunities, or they can see bigger opportunities, and they're quite happy to shoot for them a lot of the times, whereas perhaps other teams are a little bit more conservative and look at making smaller gains. But Provetsa quite happy to push the risks at times.
Well,
they're possibly slightly guilty of that in yesterday's second race when they came off the line, and I think they were last at the top mark, or second last at the top mark, pulled through to get a 7th, and could well be better than 7th in this race. Anyway, dramatic pictures of Azura then coming downwind, surfing in these big seas. Vasco there hanging off the back of the boat, making 18, 19 knots.
They really do have Rand kind of breathing down their neck. They do have a long way down to go, and I think we'll see the gap close a little.
The battle between Sled and Quantum is fascinating. Quantum trying to get down inside them with the finish line in sight. The moment Sled certainly closer to the finish line, in a stronger position. Speed's very, very even between the two. Sled a little bit quicker, just momentarily.
All about those big waves that you see them, probably averaging 16 knots. Most of the guys without a wave doing 15, 16 knots. But as soon as you get that boat, we've got such big seas. They can surf for boat lengths and boat lengths, and when you get that speed up to 19, 20 knots, it's just such an enormous difference.
So looking good for Azura. A big surge though for Ran racing behind, just on a big gust, making 20 knots, while Azura were making 16.5. So a bit of a gain there perhaps to them, but the angles and the speeds of Sled and Quantum are the most fascinating feature of this race at the moment.
I think we've just seen Azura's last jibe of this leg. They might have one more just to get down over the line, but this could be their last jibe, and for a third win in a row and their fifth out of 9 races is, well, phenomenal. And should they come out as the bridesmaids in this event, they'll be looking back at the bad results they did have. There'll be that 10th in race 2, mechanical failures, but that'll come back to haunt them. If
there was 3 things, to be honest, in that race. They had an incident with Sled at the top mark, where Sled took them wide. Sled were penalised. Then they had the winch or the grinder failure, and then they blew the kite coming into the finish line, or about half a mile from the finish line. They sailed without a kite all the way down to the last half a mile. But look at Vasco hanging off the back of the boat on the righteous, as they say. But
you see him putting all the effort in. He's still got to try and keep some communication as to where he wants to jibe. He's got to keep his eyes out the boat as to where Ran is. Ran are not slow downwind in this stuff, and but he's trying to get the boat going as much as possible. Is why we see him hanging out over the back, really trying to get the absolute 100% performance out of the boat and get it going as quick as possible and not lose anything to Ran. You never know when the next shift is coming, so you've just got to be going as fast as you can all the time. And I hope you get to the finish line before anything drastic does happen.
So that duel between Sled and Quantum carrying on for 4th and 5th place. Sled looked to have just lost out slightly to Quantum momentarily, but whether that position change will stick to the finish line. Anyway, Azura making their jibe for the finish line. Kite fills, bow comes down again, and Guillermo Parada has the finish line in his sights, coming through, surging through the line right now. So 5th win of the regatta from 9 starts, 3rd in a row for the Azura team, really keeping the pressure on Quantum as best they can. Nobody could ask more of that team, the world champions. As I say, not giving up without a fight.
Yeah, and a great way to finish doing these speeds. I think we've been really treated with these wind conditions on this last day. Makes it so much more exciting for everyone, for the sailors, for spectators. And
so it looks like Ran Racing getting 2nd.
I think we'll see Brunello coming in 3rd. We saw them just crossing the bow of Sled on their last jibe. So that's a nice gain for Brunello, who seem to be a little behind them. But Brunello just coming through in 3rd, and that'll be great for them and their battle with Platoon for 5th place.
Yeah, so Brunello through for 3rd, and it looks like Sled ahead of Quantum in the meantime.
Sled will just will definitely take this 5th place, and
Sled through now. Quantum coming through in the left side of the line. Battle with Phoenix. Phoenix coming fast. But they're Quantum through the finish line now. And then Phoenix, a good result for them, or certainly a counter, as they would say.
Well, Phoenix and they sailed a great race from start to finish. They kind of kept themselves in the middle. To hold off boats like Quantum is always a big ask, and I think that's the only place they really dropped since the start. Sled obviously had a great race. I think we'll probably see a good battle for Platoon and Allegre here. I think we'll see Platoon
coming in at the boat end of the line there. Just Harm Muller Spear bringing the bow down very slightly to coast through the finish line.
And we see Allegre and Paprec taking the...
Paprec got 3 boats behind him. Kravetsa going through on the left end of the line, I think, looking downwind. And then Sorsha and the Gladiator. Sorsha through now, and the Gladiator team, unfortunately.
Yeah, not having their best, unfortunately for them.
That was down to that start, though, wasn't it?
A very tough start for them. Having to go back. It's a long way to go back by the time you hear it over the radio, and then have to pull back. You might already be 5-6 boat lengths over the line, so then you're already 15 boat lengths down by the time you start going back upwind.
A little bit of glitter on the water there, sunshine coming through from behind the clouds as we consider the final race of the regatta of the 52 World Championships 2016, the first time we've raced as a class in Menorca. Menorca delivering a real mix of conditions, but finishing on a high note with breezes in the order of 15 to 18 knots so far through that penultimate race. Azura then winning comfortably once again. So that's her 5th win of the regatta, 3rd in a row. Quantum Racing coming away with a 6th there, and the points gap between the top 2 boats is reduced now to,
I think we've got a, I think it's 5 point, a 5 point gap if my maths are correct. My bit of paper looking a bit clogged up with with results, but it does go down to 5. Then I
think pushed it a little bit too far to the left, and that was their call off the start line. They made a solid start towards the pin end of the line, went early left, right shift, which obviously they couldn't legislate for. That cost them initially, went round the top mark in the mid-fleet position, and really there was not too many opportunities. So race result there, Azura winning, Iran Racing in 2nd, Brunellasek in 3rd, Sled a 4th, Quantum Racing then get 5th, Phoenix 6th, Platoon 7th, Allegra 8th, Paprec French team get 9th, Pravetsa 10th, Sorsha 11th, and Gladiator in 12th.
Well, if according to my maths now, Quantum will be on 30 points, and Azura really breathing down their neck, pulling the lead even closer to them by 5 points.
A repeat of that last race for Azura to have a chance of holding on to the world title, and so never say never. It could happen, but Quantum Racing are really the class act this season.
Absolutely.
And I think they'll learn from that previous race.
Yeah, definitely. They got caught out on the wrong side of a big right shift, which was their ultimate, not demise, but their biggest problem in that race was being the wrong side of a big shift. And we'll see how they go in the next one.
Yeah, so a very interesting race. Still the dark clouds out over the race course, and so that indicates that still the breeze will be quite unsettled, and I think that will be much the same conditions probably for the second race, you would imagine.
Well, we really hope so, because that was a very exciting race, and the forecast is for this afternoon for it to drop slightly, but let's keep our fingers crossed that we get one more race in that kind of breeze with those big waves and the same exciting conditions.
Exciting is the watchword for this final day of the 52 World Championships. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back with you with the overall leaderboard and the final race of the 52 World Championships 2016. Well, a very warm welcome back to Menorca, where there's huge high tension as we go into the last race of the 52 World Championships. Quantum Racing's lead a couple of days was 18 points. Now it's cut back to just 5 points going into the last race ahead of Azura. Azura on an absolute roll, 3 wins in a row. I say they're only 5 points behind, and the podium places are wide open. Provezza need to beat Ran by 2 places if they're going to steal that 3rd place. So the standings just now, Quantum Racing on 30 points, Azura on 35, Ran Racing on 45, Provezza 47, 57 for Brennecek. Brennecek, they're a little bit out of touch now of Provezza. Platoon 7 points, 3 points behind Brennecek. Allegra on 66, 67 for Sled, so a battle there. Paprik and Gladiator tied on 73, 75 for Sorsha, and Phoenix on 12th place, only 2 points off 11th. So battles all the way through the field. As we go out onto the race course, we know conditions have settled reasonably. They've struggled to get the course down. Hopefully, Jono, live from the race course. Jono, how are the conditions then at 2 minutes to go before the start?
Well, the breeze is up to about 17 knots now, but the real issue is the seas. The seas is really confused, which has made the job for the race committee extremely difficult with ribs and anchor lines, etc. But the sun's out for the final race, and as you say, they're just lining up now, and conditions looking great. It's great surfing weather downwind, but it's really testing upwind.
What's the wind speed just now, John, and what's the axis for the windward mark?
Axis is pretty much bang on north, and it's around about 16, 17 knots.
Thanks, Jono. So great conditions for this final race, Fergal, as we're at 1.5 minutes before the start. Pressure on Quantum, pressure on Azura, pressure on Ran Racing, pressure on Provezza, all the way through the fleet. What a finale.
Yeah, we've got. We always like to finish any regatta on a high, and we're going to get to see these really good, exciting conditions that Jono was just explaining out on the racecourse for the last race.
So flying out to the racecourse there, I say the breeze is in the north still, probably just slightly east of north, and we're looking at windward, leeward again. 2 windward legs, 2 runs to finish, and what's going to happen?
Well, we're going to see, obviously we've got battles throughout the fleet. There are the 3/3 of the fleet. The top 4 boats are going to be battling the midsection and the boats down at the back as well. So we're going to see a lot of tactical calls, trying to put penalties maybe on the start on other boats. We could see people trying to push each other over.
At 25 seconds to go, well, the key thing there, or in the previous start, was Quantum Racing really pushing the left, and that right shift, really they were on the wrong side of that. So I think they'll be a little bit more conservative this time out, starting more or less midline, seem to be pretty much on their own at 10 seconds. 2 or 3 boats down this pin end.
Yeah, we see Azura just lining up, trying to get the pin, just getting blocked out a little bit by Sled, but Quantum making a very conservative start in the middle.
As well, Paprik in that position as we go.
I think we saw quite a big bunch up at the committee boat end. We may see an individual recall, and maybe if the line was shadowed, we could see a general. But certainly Azura making a great start at the pin end, Paprik making a very good start at the pin end, and Quantum a very conservative midline, staying out of trouble. They've got to keep check on Azura because it's very, very close between these 2 boats.
So it does just wait and see, but I think it looks very much like a clear start as far as we can see at the moment. The battle on the pin end of the line between Paprik, Azura 3 wins in a row, and there's Gladiator just to weather them. Sorsha was over the line.
Unlucky for Sorsha going into the last race. They obviously had places to gain. They're only 2 points behind Gladiator, and Paprik sharing 73, and only 8 points behind Sled as well. So there are definite places to be gained at the back. So it's very unlucky for them to take such a big hit early on in this race.
Indeed, Quantum seem to have started fairly solidly. Not pushing too hard, but their key thing was to find themselves space and opportunity to start at maximum speed. They're just slightly to weather of that pin end group, Azura and Paprik, and of course Quantum can pretty much just keep a loose cover on Azura all the way around the course.
Yeah,
and have a reasonable chance of winning the title.
For sure, they just need to keep Azura in check. They're not going to let up. They're still going to go out here to win the race. But as long as they're close to Azura, Azura have a 5-point gap to close down, which is very, very difficult in these conditions. Azura win this race. They need Quantum to come 6th at best to share the lead. And if they do share the lead at 36 points, then given their run of big wins, they would win the event on countback. So it's very, very big ask, and all the boys on Azura know it, that they need Quantum to have their worst result of the week in this race.
You wouldn't see that happening just now at the moment. I don't think Azura would cross Quantum.
I think Quantum going in a very, very strong position, and they'll hold Azura out as long as they can. They've got the benefit of being on starboard. As soon as Azura attack, even if they can't get over the bow, they have to dip them, and we would probably see Quantum going with them. Unfortunately, Quantum would struggle to probably cross the bow of Gladiator there, and the boats to windward of them too.
So it was a bit of a call for Azura. If they wanted to get out of that corner, they'd have to take a lot of sterns, but it might be worth it to try and shake off the cover off Quantum in the meantime.
Well, you get here that it's from the graphic, we see Quantum in first and Azura 19 metres behind. You couldn't really ask for a better finale to this regatta, given the ups and downs we've seen and the massive importance to Azura of that black flag on Quantum. I mean, it was a massive kick to them after their string of incredible results. And to take on a black flag disqualification, 13 points, and then a 5th in the last race, 2 days ago, the gap was 18 points, and now they've gained 18 points in the last 2 races. So it's made up for a great spectacle for us to watch, but it must be very, 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 very hard for Quantum to think about.
Very hard for Azura at the moment in that position. They really just have to be patient, keep sailing at maximum speed, try to get up to Quantum's line, try to get into the lee bow position and hurt them, but it looks like a little bit of an ask at the moment.
And I don't think we could ask for much better pictures off the water as well. The number 1 and the number 2 bow, the champions last year, and the world champions last year, and the current as provisional world champions this year, head to head, locking horns. And I think we could see a really, really good race between these two. And there'll be other boats around thinking about how they can capitalise on these battles. They know that Quantum and Azura are going to be battling each other. They know that Ran and Provetsa are going to have battles between each other as well. They're going to be thinking, we need to stay in the clear air, stay away from these boats, and hope that those two just tack each other off the course.
Just as they see that, I think Provetsa making a gain out to the right. An opportunity for them to sail their own race. They have Ran down in the lower order of the fleet just now. So the battle that is for the 3rd step in the podium.
Yeah, it's big towards the overall series points as well. We see Ran and Provetsa in 3rd and 4th, not only in this series but in this event, but also in the overall standings. So every point is important for overall as well as just this regatta.
Indeed, just looking also at Phoenix there. Phoenix up to windward of these two.
Phoenix enjoying a bit of good luck finally. After their black flag, they came in, I think 6th in the last race, so they'll be looking for another good mid-fleet result.
So Azura attacking by the looks of things, according to the virtual.
You would imagine, unless the Quantum boat feels that there is still more gains to be made out on the left-hand side of the course, that you'd see them go pretty early just to stay in touch with Azura. And there we go now.
Just now, but the problem is Azura must be confident they'll cross Gladiator.
It's going to be tight. And
great images. I suppose, of course, now what happens is Azura call for the starboard tack boat.
I think we've just seen Azura have to tack.
Quantum going behind. So interesting work there from Vasco, calling Quantum's bluff.
Yeah, made a very good decision there. He's not just thinking about how they can get away.
It's a big gamble because they're now pinned by Gladiator, but I suppose the thinking is that they should be able to outpace Gladiator, present company accepted.
I think I think there we've just seen that they just got bow forward. It was a very, very good lee bow tack. It had to be to make that gain on Quantum, and now they've just been able to put Gladiator, made them tack off, and they may have made a little jump.
Can they put the Gladiator between them and Quantum? But I think Quantum have the little edge just now.
It's a very, very big ask of Vasco to ask Gladiator to stay in the middle of
a smart
Quantum.
Move in the sense that they had to do something. They couldn't just drag out to the left-hand corner, pinned by Quantum.
Absolutely, it just meant that really, Quantum couldn't keep them in check.
It also forces Quantum into the traffic, opens up the game.
Yeah, very, very, very clever thinking.
Ballsy move, I would say, but or a calculated risk. Let's wait and see. But fabulous action from the water. Last race of the 52 World Championship. Phoenix credited with the lead on the water. A nice open lane there for Paul Kayard and Peter Holmberg, looking to finish on a high note. They'll go to Cascais, where their owner will join the 52 Super Series for the first time. I don't know whether that puts more pressure on the owner, were they to win this race, or whether it's simply a measure of their potential. But a battle between Azura and Quantum, fully engaging everyone just now.
I think for Phoenix, the owner of beginning of the regatta, they've gained 9 points in the last 2 races, and for him to be able to see the boat going so well, and like you say, credited with the lead at the moment, I don't think it'll put the pressure on him. I think it will just be a boost of confidence to know that he has got the tools to be competitive in the fleet.
That's right, and of course their objective is not so much the tail end of 2016. It's looking to be in among the top players at Key West in January, when the 2017 circuit starts. The great pictures. Jono claimed the sun was out, not so much evidence of that so far. But again, just that battle between Preveza and Ran Racing. Will Preveza have the upper hand just now in the challenge for third step in the podium?
I think Preveza will be looking to do a little better than their last race. They know that Ran are a very, very strong team. They saw them come second in that last race, and they know they've got to do something about it now to close the gap on them. Unfortunately, Preveza got a 10th in that last race. Unfortunate after their OCS start, and so they'll be looking to really come back with a bang and get rid of that 2-point lead that Ran have over them. They obviously need 3 boats in between themselves and Ran, and as the results on the virtual show at the moment, they'll be pretty happy.
Still a long way to go in this race. We're still probably about just on approaching halfway up the first beat. Yeah, we're starting to see a little bit of a sparkle in the water.
And still
a little bit of sunshine. I promise you there will be sunshine for the prize giving. But who will be collecting the 2016 world title? Well, at the moment it is in the hands of Quantum. But an exciting battle. Azura not giving up easily, and doing all they can to take the fight to a Quantum. 3 wins in a row, 5 race wins over the regatta so far.
We see there Quantum just crossing the bow of Platoon by quite a long way, and we'll see them cross the bows of Gladiator and Azura, and you'd expect in the next 100 metres to see Quantum put a loose cover over the top of Azura, keep in check, and there they go now.
I think they heard you.
We got microphones on that boat. You're welcome.
But yeah, just I think a little bit of a righty for them helped.
I mean, they've come into this race with a pure game plan, beat Azura, and they're going to do everything in their power to do it. Or even if it's not beat Azura in this race, it's stay within in 2 places, 1 place of them, Don't do anything crazy. Don't do anything silly. They're not in a race with any of the other boats here. The only boat that can catch them is Azura, and they're going to be doing all they can to keep them in check.
But still, this big swell, really important to keep the boat powered up. Not quite the
We've seen
higher wind speeds that we saw yesterday. We were probably racing in 15, 16 knots of breeze. And in the lulls, in the troughs in particular, breeze drops, you really have to keep the boat moving across the waves going upwind.
I think since their first tack onto port a while ago, we probably saw Azura tack back the other way. We saw Quantum do a fairly quick double tack, not moving more than about 100 meters before tacking back. And you see from the graphic here that loose cover they have over Azura, just having them to leeward and behind. And that'll be a very nice position for Quantum to see Azura in. We can probably also see just in the middle right of the picture, RAN Racing's logo, and just up to weather of them is probably the white trail of Allegra maybe, and you would imagine that Provetza will be in amongst there somewhere, keeping an eye on RAN, making sure they're not climbing up to them too much, and staying in check with them. I think these guys have a lot of work to do. They've got to figure out a way. We saw them try and use Gladiator as a bit of a wedge between them and Quantum. It didn't quite work out for them, so they've got to go back to the drawing board now. I imagine Vasco's head's in overdrive, and he's got to think of a way downwind now to get past Quantum.
But certainly there are some big shifts out there and big changes in wind pressure. There will be opportunities, but whether there will be one big enough to get back at Quantum will remain to be seen. But great conditions. Should be some nice fast surfing downwind, as we saw in race number 9.
I believe the O flag was up on the committee boat, so we will see the same pumping down these waves and on every gust. And last race of the season, they get to come in tonight and not think about the day tomorrow too much. So they'll be
last race of the regatta.
Yes, and they'll be really going into hyper speed on the pumps and trying to make that boat go as quick as possible and get every little bit of performance out of it. It looks like there was a bit of a mid-leg righty. We see Sorcher have climbed up from there.
Yeah, I think that when Quantum went initially onto starboard, I think they got a little bit of righty that got them up or made that gain on Azura. That's a significant distance ahead just now.
Well, we see Sorcher just down to leeward of Gladiator there, Gladiator and Quantum. They've made a huge gain after their OCS start. They had to go back around the committee boat, restart the race, and they took a big punt out to the right early on, and they've gone right back into the fleet, which is nice to see that they didn't give up straight away, and they're going to be back into the mix.
Azura have 11 points on RAN Racing, in the holding second place going into this race.
Yeah, there is the potential for that play for Azura to drop. I really don't think we'll see it. It would mean RAN having to win the race.
I think you'd be
and
putting
Azura
money on the
having
lottery
to,
if you thought that could happen, but stranger things have happened.
Yeah. I think this angle we get to see just how big the waves are out there. The TV boat going right the way down, and the waves coming up to almost the first spreader. So you can imagine how difficult it is for these guys going upwind, trying to get over these waves.
Waves look a little bit flatter than virtual.
Yeah. It's definitely not like that.
Anyway, Phoenix leading according to virtual just now. The right has paid off initially. Phoenix Allegri sled, Provezza in 4th, Brunesek 5th, Ran in 6th, Quantum 7th, and by all accounts Azura back in 11th, getting bounced around in the traffic after that.
It's good to see Paprec coming back. They seem to make good use of the left there. Maybe there was a bit more pressure over there. The right has obviously paid the most, seeing boats like Sorcha and we'll see Sled and Allegre come back very strong.
So that's Phoenix just passing the separator mark, the leeward separator mark, which, as we said in the previous race, protects the port tack ley line, keeps the port tack ley line further to leeward from the windward mark, and channels the boats in on starboard tack up to the windward mark. Just makes it a little bit safer, reduces the opportunity for a boat to come in hard on port and tack at the mark.
I'm sure if Richard Cohen is watching from his home or work, will have a big smile on his face to see his team and his boat doing so well with quite a commanding lead after just 17 minutes of beating. I don't think there was anyone in the fleet who thought that Phoenix weren't going to be a big name coming into this regatta with such a depth of talent on board their boat with Paul Kayard and Peter Holmberg and the rest of their team. It's a really, really good team. You see the guys walking down the dock, big smiles, and really up for this event, and really up for Cascais as well, talking to a couple of them this morning.
Absolutely. Navigator is Kalle Koster, the Dutchman, who was navigator on Spooky, I think, with Peter Holmberg.
Credited with being a very, very, very good moth sailor, Kalle, doing really well in the moths at the moment.
Sorry, I think I said in the previous race that Peter Holmberg was an interlodge. Of course, he was on Spooky with Steve Benjamin a year ago. Anyway, kite goes up on Phoenix. Ran leading Quantum Racing there. Ran looking like they might get round. This top mark in 2nd place again, incredible. Real focus at the moment is not on the in the overall 52 Super Series is big enough that they can afford to spend 1 or 2 points in pursuit of their world title, or to be safeguard their world title.
Well, we see there that Azura must be really pulling their hair out of the back at the moment, because they went round the top mark in 12th place with Sorcha just in front of them. Platoon and Gladiator, they've got a lot of boats to overtake. Quantum, they're not winning the race, as we know. Phoenix having a great race, but Quantum will take a 4th. I mean, obviously they've still got their eyes on the overall prize. They won't sit back and take a 4th, but in terms of this World Championship and this World Championship alone, they would take a 4th, and knowing that Azura are where they are.
Indeed, it's all about risk management and playing the average, as Terry Hutchison is fond of telling us.
I think we see
reducing the risk, and
we saw Azura take that early jibe, and you saw straight away the first boat to go with them, Quantum Racing. You know, it may not be the favoured side of the course for Quantum, it may not be the place they want to go, but in terms of this World Championship, they'll go wherever that blue boat goes. We'll see that green tracker in front of the blue one all the time. I think there'll be big smiles on board the Phoenix right now. They've just gone from strength to strength. They took a little while to settle into the regatta, and had it not for been for that black flag, we'd see them much further up the leaderboard at the moment, especially with a 3rd, a 6th, and a potential 1st. And you know, I hope they keep on their good fortunes at the moment. They've got a really, really nice lead.
Indeed, pretty much doing what Azura have done in the last 2 or 3 races. Get your head in front, get your nose in front, and then build on that advantage, because there's no one round about you that you have to keep in check, and you can sail your own race, use the shifts, pick the best lanes of pressure.
I think Platoon had a very good...
Good also to see Allegra up there in second. A little bit of an up and down regatta for them, lying in the middle of the fleet really in 7th, and they are chasing Platoon for 6th, but are 6 points behind and 1 point ahead of Sled. So Allegra's battle is with Sled, and at the moment they're well ahead of them. Nice shot there of Platoon.
I think we've said it before about Allegra. They're quite a quiet team. In slightly, you see their results. Very mid-table 5s and 6s. And if you get rid of some of their bogey results, like a 9 and a 12, and if you did replace them with their normal 5-6, then that's why we see them in the middle of the pack. Is due to a couple of bad results in a couple of races. But if they kept that consistency, we'd see them much nearer the top, as we have done in the past.
So that's how the points table would end up if the positions stayed the same at the end of the race. Quantum Racing would win the world title by 10 points. Azura on 47, and then Ran Racing 49, 1 point ahead of Pravetsa. So 4th and 5th in the balance.
Yeah, I think the
Sorry,
Pravetsa
3rd and 4th in the balance. 4th and 5th, there's a little bit more of a gap.
I think the 3rd and 4th place battle is probably one of the most exciting here between Ran and Pravetsa, because they're both in the middle of the fleet at the moment, or they were at the top mark, and according to
they're both gaining down this run.
But they'll be definitely looking to stay in touch with each other. I think we see Ran in the middle of the course there, Pravetsa slightly further over to the right as we look at it, and we could see a little battle if they come together at the bottom mark.
Indeed, the point being that Pravetsa need boats. They need a couple of boats between them and Ran Racing at the moment. Ran doing, I suppose, will start to do the same kind of job that Quantum Racing do on Azura, or until now, stay on the same patch of water. Even if it's just a case of following them round, then they can be sure of 3rd step in the podium. But also, once again, you're looking at the big prize, the season-long prize. You don't want to cough up points in pursuit of a podium particularly.
I think Phoenix will actually be very happy to be winning this race, as they know the boats behind them are not particularly going where they want to go. They're not going where the tacticians want them to go. Phoenix can go wherever they want, and everything to gain. And a lesson learnt for going into Cascaisen for 2017, that they do have the boat, they have the tools, they have the team, and it's just the case of practice amongst this fleet.
And of course they're 2 points behind Sorsha, and 4 points behind Gladiator, 4 points behind Paprec. A win with a bunch of boats further down the fleet that they're around about on the overall table. They could get themselves up into 9th or 10th if they win this race.
I think that just...
And the likes of Gladiator, Sorsha and Paprec are several boats, 5 or 6 boats behind them, as is the case just now.
I think that shows the...
mind you, Paprec are nicely up there, doing not too badly at all.
I think that shows...
Paprec really have had their best regatta for a long time in terms of being in the mix a lot of the time, posting solid results, and I think really relishing the fight, relishing the level of competition round about them. They're not scared by it.
I think the good thing about Paprec is having such a good result, and having such good results throughout the week with 3rds and 5ths is showing that the youth coming into the class has so much talent in it, and maybe we start to see some of the other boats in the fleet say, hey, we've just raced against a bunch of, or half of the crew of dinghy sailors, young dinghy sailors, come in and compete so well with us. So we could see an influx of more youth sailors into the fleet.
I think from that point of view, I may always give credit to Andy Soriano, bringing young talent on board in their tactician who's an ex-470 world champion, and he's stuck with him. And they got their second in Scarlino, the first regatta of the year. And he's really about the crew cohesion and sailing with guys he wants to sail with. Looking there at the umpire alongside Provezza. Bill O'Hara, that is, familiar head of hair.
I'm sure.
Looking at Provezza there with Andy Beedsworth steering.
I'm sure Tony Ray keeping his eye out of the boat, letting everyone know where Ran is and what the next possible manoeuvre is if they put a loose cover on them or even a tight cover on them down near the bottom mark. You know, if Ran go
their
one way,
objective is to get boats between them and Ran, and so they're thinking big picture. They're thinking strategy more than boat for boat with Ran. It's where can they find an opportunity to put a boat or another couple of boats between them and Ran.
Obviously, coming in on the port, middle to port lay line will be a struggle, especially if they are bow to bow with Ran. Ran coming in will be coming in on the starboard lay line, so they've got to wonder, when do we jibe? When do we have to go round the back of them so we get the advantage on the next jibe? There's going to be a lot going through the heads of everyone out there in personal battles with other boats.
So Quantum, as we pointed out, just doing a covering job at the moment, not focusing too much on the boats ahead of them. That covering jibe down the run has cost them a couple of places, I think. But their main focus just now is staying with Azura.
So we could see a jibe from Ran here, a loose covering jibe, trying to steal the wind of Provezza, or maybe they go around the back. But we'll definitely see a bit of action here between these two boats.
Indeed, I think you'll find Ran just focus on staying with Provezza.
Yeah,
certainly you wouldn't expect them to go to opposite gate marks, for example.
No, as long as they keep tight to them, they know they can't get another couple of boats in there.
That's it.
That's the key for Ran here.
So both boats heating it right up.
And obviously the other boats around them will be looking at this saying, hey, look, watch these two. These two are going to have a good fight. They're going to try and mess each other up.
Going on, little luff there, and Ran Racing losing their kite momentarily.
And now they have the cover.
Correspondingly, Provezza do the same.
Turning into a bit of a match race.
Yeah, and Andy Beedsworth's the man for a match race. Jibe away. A little bit untidy in the jibe, but they'll get going. Breeze has dropped away a little bit. Blue sky now.
And they've disappeared. Still massive seas out there.
Just remind you are looking at pictures from Menorca, and it is September. Should still be summer. Anyway, coming through the leeward gate, Phoenix have that big lead, 170 metres for the meantime. Allegri coming down that left side, looking downwind. Nice ley line for them in the meantime. Oh, there we go, definite sunshine.
I think for this, for Paul Cayard here, must be fairly reminiscent of his days with Artemis, being at the front of the fleet. So he's no stranger to being at the
colour
front.
Scheme is the same.
Yeah. Certainly no
Black
stranger
and
to
red.
being at the front of a TP52 race, and even a World Championship. I believe that I think I'd be right in saying my history's not great in the 52s, but did Artemis win the Worlds in 2008 or?
I think it was before there was the ISAF Worlds. I can't really remember, but
oh, maybe someone can Google it somewhere and let us know. Allegri just making a nice 1 point gain. They've gained off of that battle between Provezza and Ran, and jumping ahead of Ran after they went round just behind them at the top mark. So that'll be a good for Allegri. They're obviously 1 point behind Platoon and only 6 points behind Platoon. and 9 points behind Brunello-Sec. So they'll be hoping that those boats don't have their greatest race in this one. Rand not having the tidiest of jives. It seems that their spinnaker halyards just dropped slightly from the top of their rig. So maybe a little too early on the drop, and just having to try and get back into this now. That will not.
I think Rand have just done a penalty from what information I'm getting from the water.
That could be to do with their earlier coming together with.
Yeah.
Okay, so confirm that Rand did a 360 turn. Probably something to do with their small battle they had with Provetza. We saw on the video earlier.
They're just not responding to the luff, I think. And
Rand would have been the windward boat, and
yeah,
Provetza not.
So
there you go. It's on there. Look. So we're just seeing on one of our computers that that Provetza came up for a luff, and Rand may have just touched or
looking from bows on.
Could have got a bit of the kite into Provetza, and not, like you say, not responding to the luff immediately. The red flag will be flying, and the umpires will be earning their money. I'm sure the umpires know which battles are going on, which boats will be coming together, and making a decision to give Rand a penalty there.
That's looking at Ergen Imrie going upwind on his Provetza. So we've just seen Provetza go round in 8th place there, Rand in 12th. Currently, given that buffer between the two boats, you'd see Provetza actually leapfrog Rand and go into 3rd place. So they had a very good tactical decision back then, trying to put a penalty on Rand perhaps, and absolutely,
and they did it. So if that was intentional, then
I'm
a
sure
very good decision from Tony and Andy on board Provetza.
It's using the rules to best effect, but a bunch of these guys on both boats will be on the same plane home tonight.
Yeah,
there'll be a little bit of tension
opposite ends
after
maybe.
that one, and even the cars booked back to Hamble or whoever it is. You'll be on your own, pal.
There you see in the projected points that Provetza have leapfrog Rand, given their current positions, 3 points ahead with that nice 5 point spacing between 3rd and 4th as it stands. Provetza will be hoping that the boats between them will continue to be there and not give Rand any runway to get through.
Yep, of course, Andy Beadsworth, the past British match racing champion, and raced in the match race world tour before, and of course did a lot of match racing in the Soling in the Olympic years. Finished 4th in the Sydney Games.
Sled being quite quiet in this race, so I haven't seen too much of them, but went round the bottom mark in 6th place. At the moment on the track we've got them up to 4th. Sorcha having a great run, the best run of the entire round through the gate. Azura also making a fairly notable gain, 12th up to 5th going around the bottom mark, but according to the tracker have slipped down to 10th already. Maybe choosing the wrong gate or getting in a bit of bad air.
Yeah, just clarifying your earlier point, 2007, it was still the Global Championship. It was before the ISAF recognised World Championship, and Artemis did win that year. Pretty much the same level of competition, but that was in Porto Cervo, and Torben Tornqvist won with Artemis, and I think that would have been Kjard on board then, but at that point they were very much sharing the skipper and tactician's role with Russell Coates.
So I think Phoenix is really enjoying this this lead that they've got. They've been, like we said earlier, they've been able to go out, sail their own race. They got into the clear air very early, and just way out with a nice lead, 130 metres over Alegre, and then 382 metres back to Quantum. So there's a massive gap between first and third, and hoping to keep that a bit of a gap on Allegre as well. But Allegre, a team that you will never discount, and they could easily come back. And we've seen how strong they've been downwind in the last couple of days in this strong wind. They gained massive places yesterday in yesterday's last race, and the last race, and the first race yesterday as well. Sorry. I think the owner of Sorcha having to go back to work today will be happy to see his boat middle of the fleet still, and we'll be praising Neil for doing a good job and taking on the reins from him.
So by my reckoning, Quantum Racing en route for their fifth world title. Winners in 2008, 2010, 2011 and 2014. And on course for 2016. The way the positions stand coming up this final beat of the regatta here in Menorca. Leaders are Phoenix. Good day for the Stars and Stripes. Question from YouTube: why are all the sails black?
It's certainly in the North sails. It's due to their raw carbon element. These are all carbon fibre sails, and to keep them as light as possible, they go back to their most raw form, and which is black. We do see a few that are painted. We see the quantum sails are the more see-through ones. They have a different way of building. I think North have a patent on how they build their sails in this raw carbon form, which is why the majority of the fleet are that colour. We used to see them in grey, which had a film. The 3DI sails, when they first went to this carbon setup, was light grey. And to make them lighter, they've got rid of this film now, and we see them at their lightest element in black.
Just explain the buttoning system, because you're only allowed a certain number of sails over the course of a season.
Yeah, so you start off with your full inventory of sails, a light jib, a light medium jib, a medium, a heavy plus, a mainsail, and your spectrum of spinnakers, so light winds to heavy air spinnakers. I think we're allowed 17 sails throughout the year, and obviously there are some sails that get used more than others. Generally, you would only have one heavy jib, one heavy plus jib. You'd only have one heavy air spinnaker. So you see a lot of lower range of the mediums, the light medium jibs, which are the ranges we sail in the most, being replaced. And we get to build our inventory throughout the year based on what we're using the most. Every team has a sail coordinator on board. Our sail coordinator is Mikkel Rosberg, who does an incredible job for us of making sure we always have the right sail for the right conditions. We think through the year about the conditions we're going to have in each event, and what the conditions are going to be like in terms of wind strength. So we fill up our wardrobe of sails according to that.
Interesting to see that Provetsa appear to have dropped behind Ran, despite that penalty, according to the table just now.
We see here in the virtual that Ran have actually overtaken Provetsa to go into 8th place and Provetsa into 9th. So if that is correct, and Ran have picked up a nice right-hand shift. I think Ran went to the right pretty early on after the gate. Provetsa went out to the left. Should there have been that, we see Provetsa nearly furthest left. If Ran have picked up a nice lefty going out to the right and then tacking into a right shift, and we could see Ran coming out higher than everyone.
So that's the projected points table. If the position stayed the same across the finish line, Quantum Racing would win on 33 points, Azura 42, Ran would hold on to third in 53, and Provetsa would be on 56. So Allegre would come away with a nice mid-fleet result, going up from 7th to 6th. So let's keep our eye on that projected points table, but Quantum Racing up to third on the water. US flagged boats first and third. And a question from Samuel Stone on YouTube, Fergal. What's the second jib that they put up downwind? It's the staysail.
Yeah, we put up the staysail downwind. It's a much smaller sail. Gives a lot more freedom for the spinnaker, but still gives us a little more extra power. Closes the slot between the spinnaker and the main, so that the spinnaker doesn't affect the main too much. And a lot of effort goes into the sizing and the positioning of these staysails. But just having such a big, heavy jib up downwind, blocking some of the wind from the spinnaker, we just replace it for that smaller sail, but not losing any power.
There's still quite a lot of focus, design focus goes into the staysail design, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you look across the fleet. If you look at the positioning, some teams go for bigger staysails, some teams go for smaller staysails that reduce the slot size, and there's a lot of development. Even though it is the smallest sail, there is still a lot that goes into a lot of time and thought surely in the design offices at Norths and Quantum into how they're going to build their staysails according to the wishes of the people on the boat.
Indeed, and we're looking at bow number 19 is Andy Soriano's team on board the Allegra, lying second overall. This would potentially be their best score of the week and one which would take them up to 6th place according to the projected table we saw a second ago. Best score this year was second in the first regatta and second overall in the first regatta last season, when all 9 new boats, new 2015 build boats, hit the water in Valencia. Then Allegra were second then. They also finished second in Scarlino, first regatta of this season. Just saying huge credit to the young tactician Nick Asher, who does a fabulous job on that boat.
Yeah, he kind of got thrown into that position halfway at the end of last season, and
that's right. He sailed as strategist initially with Edo Stead on Ran Racing, and again, credit where it's due. It was Nicholas Zenstrom who wanted some young blood coming in from the high performance dinghy world, who wanted a strategist to back Edo Stead up, and they brought Nick Asher in, and then he moved across into Allegra and is doing a great job. It's a couple of good seconds this year, and lying second on the water behind Phoenix and just ahead of Quantum.
But still a massive gap back to, I think, Phoenix and Allegra are really going to run away with this race. The battle there is between Phoenix and Allegra. Phoenix will be really making sure that they keep on top of Allegra here. I don't think they'll let them jibe away without going with them. We'll see downwind. It'd be Phoenix obviously want to finish this on a high, and the way they're going, they're definitely going to. They've gone from strength to strength throughout the week, and had a bit of bad luck across the board. But this is all good practice for them. Every day has been practice. And they're going to come away, hopefully for them, with a nice first place, which is pretty sweet to have in your first week amongst this caliber of.
Absolutely, indeed. The
teams.
boat Phoenix was second overall in the World Championships in 2014, second to Quantum Racing. So it's, and I think if I remember rightly, they won their first ever race in the 52 Super Series in Capri, just when the boat was launched, and obviously. Eduardo de Souza Ramos, the Brazilian owner, was very, very experienced and committed owner who had represented Brazil at 2 Olympics.
Imagine they're not too far from the top mark here. Phoenix maybe making their last tack in on port to get over to the starboard ley line. I think we'll see one more tack for those guys, and then they get the opportunity to increase their lead downwind with that nice 130-metre lead they've already got.
A little bit of history for you then. From 2008, world champions were Quantum Racing with Matador in second, Vasco Vescotto taking second place. 2009 was in Palma from memory. Matador won on a protest with Quantum Racing in second. 2010 was Quantum Racing with Matador second. 2011 was Quantum Racing with Container second, and that's many of the Container crew are presently on platoon, notably Marcus Wieser, who runs the boat and does tactics. 2013, as I said, was in Miami. Ran won on the last race. Azura stalled in the final downwind when they were leading the title charge, and Ran got round them and won the title. 2014 was Quantum Racing and Phoenix, and 2015 Azura in Puerto Portales last year with Platoon in second place. So at the moment it's looking like back to the old firm, as it were. Quantum Racing looking set to win this title, with Azura probably in second, but Paul Kayard there steering Phoenix upwind, final meters off the last windward leg of this championship.
I think big congratulations to those guys to not let their string of bad results at the beginning of the week to
I don't think they were
affect them in any
fazed by
way.
that too much. I think in some ways they kind of enjoyed it. It really focused them, and they made them realise that they really have to be working at 100% all the time, not just on the water, but debriefing, looking at how they can get faster. As Peter Holmberg said, faster and smarter. They were lacking in speed.
Well, it should be a very well-earned confidence boost for them after saying how much the talent has gone up this year, how much the competition has increased this year. For them to be able to come and win a race in their practice mode, you could put it. It's a big credit to their team.
They did a little bit of racing prior to joining the 52 Super Series in the east coast of the States, where there's a very active TP52 scene, but mostly or all IRC optimized boats. I think they found that a little bit frustrating because the IRC optimization is expensive and continues to swallow money. And I think that perhaps, besides anything else, they just thought might as well go for a higher level of competition, higher level of satisfaction, and spend your money operating in the real Premier League of Grand Prix monohull sailing.
So we just see Phoenix's staysail go up there. That's that smaller jib, if you will, for the downwind. That's on a furler at the bottom, mainly under the deck. You'll see the pitman furling that up so it doesn't impede the spinnaker in the jibes. And as soon as they're settled, sails fully powered up, you'll see that pop back out. Normally about 2 boat lengths after the jibe, that'll pop back out after the weight's been pushed down, and you'll have someone just forward of the kite trimmer trimming that.
Just looking back at the World Championships last year in Puerto Portales in Mallorca, I don't know how many people remember the very last race of the championship, and Quantum Racing did not have a good Worlds anyway, but they had a shocking last race, made a bad call down the final run and went way back into 12th place and ended up in 6th overall. So what a contrast between 2015 and 2016, the 2015 Quantum Racing team and the 2016 Quantum Racing team. Not too many changes really in terms of personnel, 1 or 2, but it's a whole different ball game for them this year, and they really are. Everything that's happened in the last 24 hours notwithstanding, they really are still the benchmark team and a class of their own.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you can. They're on course to win this championship, and although they're not winning this race, and they didn't have their best race last one, you can't ignore their first 7 races of this series.
You certainly can't. No, you can't ignore 7 races.
No.
But all credit to them. It's a great day for the American boats and the American teams in general. Phoenix up there, Paul Kayard, and a mainly US team, a few Canadian and Calicut. Brunanasek holding a good 4th place just now. That will be good in their challenge. I mean, considering they're up to 5th, and a few days ago were way back into the cheap seats, as Ian Moore referred to them the other day, down in 11th and 12th in the early part of the regatta. They've made a nice steady recovery. I think they'll be fairly content to make the top 5 after the way they started the regatta. But things changing all the time. I think you're going to bring us up to date. Looks like Prevets have got themselves through RAN racing once again, according to our...
Yeah, it's so up and down there at that top mark. We see RAN just leading Prevets and Azura around there. So they've got that 3-point buffer back. Gladiator having a bit more of a better race this one. They've seemed to have climbed through the middle of the fleet and got themselves into I think 6th place. And then we see the big bunch of Platoon, RAN, Prevets.
just switched again, so we'll just wait till the finish line. But RAN racing ahead of Prevets on our projected overall points table for the regatta. Let's focus our thoughts on Quantum and Azura in the meantime, and let's just see how it pans out once we get down to the finish line. Actually, Allegri have gained a little bit on the Phoenix. I think quite shifty. The breeze does appear to have eased off. We're probably back at 12, 13 knots down this final run, when started off in something closer to 16 or 17 on the start line.
Yeah, as for the forecast, we saw 3 o'clock. The wind was going to go right a little bit more, 40 degrees. I think it hasn't gone that far right, but we're going to be down at 12 to 16 knots. I think we're seeing more the 12 end of that spectrum at the moment. Still, the seas are flattening off slightly. We've still got reasonable big waves out there, big seas, but nothing like we saw in the first race or this morning. Still good surfing conditions. I think the O flag was still up, so they'll still be able to use these big waves for pumping, but certainly not the spectacular speeds that we saw in the first race, down to 10, 11 knots downwind instead of the 18s, 19s.
So Prevets have one boat between them and RAN racing as they come down this final run, and that is Sled.
I think Sled took an early jibe, and in this breeze, you see the early jibes will any jibe will cost you in this down pressure, and the boats that carried on going straight a little longer will have made a small extension. Whether they've extended enough to put Sled behind them, maybe in question, but certainly the boats from behind might be coming down with slightly better pressure than the boats in front. I think Phoenix definitely still on track to keep hold of this. We're just coming up to about the halfway mark of this run. They do have Allegra breathing down their necks. They've still got a few more jibes to put in before they get to that finish line. But according to the graphic, there is still 170 meters, which is a long way for Allegre to catch up. But there is a big split across the right and left of the course between them. Phoenix having to do a lot more work on starboard than Allegre. But as this shows, Phoenix doing 13 knots and Allegre doing a little less.
So Quantum Racing heading down to the finish line, looking for all the world like the 2016 world title winners. Big hello to all the Quantum fans in the US of A and around the world. It's 3:45 local time here, and I'd imagine they're just thinking about sitting down to Sunday lunch in the east coast of the States, and they can do that content that their team should win the world title, as I say, for the 5th time.
I know we keep talking about this battle for 3rd place. Right now, Prevets, according to the graphic, are in 5th and RAN down in 11th. If we look to the provisional scores, we'd see that Prevets are piggyback them again.
And of course, we're not allowed to go into any details about your side bets, Fergal, but who's winning the money at the moment?
Oh well, there's a couple of little running bets. I think I'm good for one. Obviously, these are things we have absolutely zero control over. But there's I think I'm looking fairly good for one.
Good man. And we're just approaching the finish line. We'll be in the sights of Paul Kayard and the team on board Phoenix. Started the regatta with a 10-9-11, 2/10, a black flag yesterday in the first race. I think that was their low point, but since then coming back with a third yesterday in race 8, 6th this morning, mid-fleet, and coming back with a nice win. And that's a nice memory to take forward to Cascais.
Oh, they're looking pretty comfortable on board. There's not much running around. Everyone's keeping focused. We've got a pretty important jibe here. They want to get this one right just to keep their lead on Allegre looking good. Allegre will not be giving up on this on them being ahead.
Just a quick run through the talent list on board the Phoenix. Well, Callie Coster is the navigator, Michael Van Buren is the boat captain, Dylan Vogel mid-bow, Marco Constant from the Netherlands is the mainsail trimmer, John Hayes, very well known on this circuit, previously with Brebon amongst others, is on trimmer. Chris Cam, also well known on the runners, Peter Holmberg, tactician, Jared Finch, forward grinder from Canada, Mark Newbrook, aft grinder, Tom Powry from New Zealand, trimmer, Sam Loughborough, bow, Curtis Blewett in the pit, and Paul Kayard, skipper, as they approach the finish line. Truly international team, massive talent pool there, Volvo winners from the Pirates of the Caribbean days with Mr. Kayard.
Yeah, they've got a great bunch of guys on there.
A few America's Cup sailors as well.
Yeah, a really, really good bunch of guys, and they've showed off how good they are entering this fleet and getting through their first warm up in the Mediterranean, and what a way to round it off for them.
Absolutely, and just we did mention the Artemis program, but of course Paul sailed with the El Desafío, the Spanish America's Cup program, when they had their TP52, very low budget program. And sailed on very tight budgets. They built the boat from the mould of the Christabella or Brebon, I can't remember which one, I think it was Brebon, and they did pretty well for the Euros they spent doing it, and it's also great experience moving forward into this generation of boats.
I think Sled will be pretty happy with where they are at the moment, just rounding off the last few good races for them. If they can hang on to this 5th place that they currently hold, should see them slide up the leaderboard a little maybe. Where are we? Potentially getting, depending on how Platoon do, they could leapfrog Platoon, but I think Allegre are just out of sight. And Allegre needing Brunellasek to be a bit further behind them than they currently are to get up to 5th as well. I think it's very much in the bag for Phoenix and Allegre on a first and a second. By this, it says that Phoenix have a 770 metre lead over Quantum in 3rd. And that's an enormous lead to put over a boat who, has been involved in a little battle with Azura earlier on in the race, but to put that kind of lead over such a formidable team is pretty incredible.
Anyway, I think we'll see a huge measure of relief rather than jubilation on board the Quantum Racing after yesterday's trials and tribulations. I don't think their confidence in their own abilities has ever been shaken in any way. But dinner must have been a tense time last night in the Quantum camp.
Oh, absolutely. There's not a single boat out there who would be able to let a black flag get make them rest easy. So I think their main focus, everyone going to bed last night, would have been, let's not do that again. Let's get back to normal. And,
back to business, and they've done that today.
Let's win this thing, and they obviously had that a poor result in for their standards, certainly this season, in a fifth in the last race for the entire day. Main plan was keep Azura in check.
So they've done that. In the meantime, Phoenix coming down towards the finish line, or just I think probably one jibe in and in.
Yeah, still a few hundred meters to go, just coming inside that ley line boundary that's shown on the graphic. Having to do a little jibe there, so starting to build their speed. On starboard, I don't think the waves are as good as they are when the boat's on port. So the starboard jibe is slightly slower, I'd say, due to the wave direction.
Preveza Ran battle. Preveza have 2 boats between them and Ran, Sled and Sorsha.
And right now, if as that would be projected, I think they'd end up on the same points. I may be mistaken, but if they do end up on the same points, it's Preveza who have the first in their scorecard this week. And should they end on equal points, it would be Preveza that took the third overall. Ran will be thinking about that. They'll know each of these boats would have gone out this morning knowing exactly where all the other boats came this week, who has first, and if they do draw with anyone, will they beat them?
So guess what position Preveza finished last year in Puerto Portals?
I remember they had a very, very good one. A very, very good one. And it was third, wasn't it?
It was third. I wonder whether they can repeat that. But in the meantime, breeze has eased off pretty much exactly as forecast.
It's a very, very long run for these boats, especially if they're in a position where they think they're going to beat.
Again, the venue is completely different, but the breeze died completely on the last run in Portals. And just recalling that to these moments for Quantum Racing. Quantum Racing ended up way out in the left on the final downwind and completely on their own, and came in very late after everybody had finished.
Yeah, it must
be a
be
situation that happened with Preveza earlier on in the season when they were also made a call. I think it was Scarlino, was it not?
Well, I think the boat speed's probably down to around 8 knots now. Well, we see Phoenix there doing 8, just tipping on 9 knots with a surge and a wave. But they're about 200 meters off of winning their first race in the Super Series, and they must be very, very anxious to get this race over. It must be agonizing to be that far ahead and just have that wind die. And knowing that the boats behind are probably coming down with a little better pressure. So they'll be looking to close this one out ASAP.
It's really just a case of trying not to push it too far, too hard, dig deep, too deep downwind, sail some high angles, keep it fast. But look at that, that's just...
sailing into these little holes, and we'll probably see the boat start to sail slightly higher angles just to keep the speed up.
Just the apparent dies on as you surge forward in the breeze. Trimmer has to trim the kite on. Sorry, you surge forward in the top of the wave. The trimmer has to bring the trim of the kite on, and then you overtake the apparent. It's extremely difficult conditions. Allegra making a little bit of a gain down the left side. They have a long way to get round.
They have closed the gap to just 30 meters, but I think we're just going to see Phoenix in the next inside the next 30 seconds. They've got a good bullet of breeze there, and they're going to cross the line in first place, taking the last race. I think we'll just start to see the committee boat coming into view there.
If we could have a wee look at the wave. If we could have a look at the projected overall standings as we come through the line, hopefully we'll see that this win should do Phoenix some good.
Massive congratulations to everyone on board that team for a big bounce back.
Scotland flag in the foreground.
They'll be very, very happy guys on there.
Yeah, indeed they are. Handshakes all round, fist pumps, high fives, bit of kissing. But no, they're happy. I mean, they've done a good job in that final race. And so too, credit to Allegri. Andy Soriano's team have a strong one to finish on in second place behind.
Yeah, I think that's their best result of the week, coming
That's
in
right, yeah.
second. So we said they had a bit of a quiet week. They do have that big 12 in there, and without a discard, that's a really very painful result. So to get a second in there is really, really good. To go to 68 points overall is going to be, well, they're going to be hoping that Platoon and Brunellasek don't catch them too much, and that a few other boats get in the mix there between them.
So just watching them drop the kite.
I think we got a long time before the next boat crosses. I think there was still a 700 metre, so 3/4 of a kilometre to the next boat to cross. And
I don't like to point out where Quantum are on the virtual just now.
Yeah.
But
there's the projected. If I'm not mistaken, there's the big red rocket coming down the left side, who should be bow to bow with Provetza, but that's more like it for the last race of the season from them. Hopefully they can continue this beat, this run. They haven't had the best of this race. They were Gladiator 9th, the first top mark, 11th at the bottom mark the second time.
Provetza making a nice recovery. Still, look at this distance between them and Ran Racing. Gladiator making a big recovery. I think it's all about wind pressure and angles just now down this final run.
Well, let's hope that
down
stays
these
filled.
runs when the breeze lightens, you really have to heat up through such big angles.
Yeah, I think they've got probably 1 or 2 jibes left in them, so they really need to make sure that their jibes are spot on. They need to make sure the weight is all, like every boat across the fleet now has to make sure they're doing really good roll jibes, just like they were when they were in their dinghies. They need to make sure the weight's in unison, that everyone is on the same page, and that they get across the line with good speed and hopefully with a few boats behind them.
Did good gains from Gladiator. Nervous moments though. They do now have Quantum behind them. We can see that. Hopefully we can get a view of the finish line at some point and catch the boats either in virtual as they come through. But big gain for the Gladiator down that final run by the looks of things.
Yeah, they'll be hoping that that's their last jibe. They don't have to heat up too much, that they would sail above the committee boat and have to put in another jibe. Obviously a jibe is so costly. They're probably coming out of these jibes in 3-4 knots of boat speed and having, trying very, very hard to get back up to the right speed in 7-8 knots in this pressure. But currently we have they're currently in 4th, according to the tracker. Provetza coming in to 3rd, and Ran currently just outside the top 5 in 6th, which would put a 1-point gap between them. If they do score the 5th that is now projected, they both land on 50 points, then it will be Provetza that take the last podium position of this regatta. But there could be quite a tight finish between Gladiator and Provetza here. Gladiator hoping they can hold off the charge of Quantum coming just down to windward.
Appears to have a big right shift that seems to have done the damage or the gains, depending on which side of it you're on. Looking at the angles they're sailing, and
I mean, it's
Quantum taking an expensive one, or looked to be on the virtual. We're now going live. Quantum appeared to be coming across on starboard, but here we are at the live at the finish line, I think.
Amazing to think that Phoenix finished 4.5 minutes ago. That was the commanding lead that they had.
So very gentle breeze as they come through the finish line. In 3rd place, Provetza. Look like they may take 3rd overall.
So we just have to wait to see where Ran finish in this race to round off the podium. But Provetza making a big gain down that last run to take 3rd place. And nice to see Gladiator getting that old number 4 that's imprinted on the bow of the boat. there, and I think Ran will beat Sled in this, and this could be a case of
Quantum getting through first.
A shared result, and if they both do land on 50 points, that'll be...
Quantum get 5th. So the standings so far: first Phoenix, second Allegra, Pravetsa 3rd, Gladiator 4th, Quantum 5th, Ran Racing 6th.
Platoon 7th, I think we're going to see coming across there.
Platoon 7th, and of course with Quantum coming through in 5th, the world title is theirs. We had a few nervous moments with virtual anomalies coming down the last run, but world title for Quantum Racing, their 5th world title since 2008. Then Platoon through in 7th. 8th is Brunenasek. Did the points tallies: 50 for Pravetsa, 51 for Ran.
Paprek just rounding off with a ninth there, I think. Fortunate for them, they finish on 45 points, so they're 10 points off of the first there, and Sorcha and Sled still to finish. I think we're going to see Sorcha just take the 11th place here, but Sled actually coming with a bit of pace according to this virtual that we're seeing. But I think it's going to be Sorcha to take the 11 points at the end, going to go to 76 points overall, and Sled to go to 79 points overall with that big 12th. A very, very unfortunate result for Sled.
Yeah, indeed.
Will actually get bounced down the leaderboard down to 10th place, and Gladiator will relish in that 4th place just at the finish to get them out of the bottom 3 and up to 8th. And even with Phoenix's phenomenal result, phenomenal win by over 5 minutes, or over at least 3rd place, they just get pipped by Gladiator to 8th point.
So maybe we can see the projected points table on the screen, but as we have it, our mathematics of Quantum Racing winning on 35 points, Azura second on 45 points, Pravetsa 50 getting 3rd place once again, same as they did last year in Puerto Portales, and then we have